All right, Trails Collective World. Ian here with the Trails Collective Live episode. This will be originally airing on September 15th, and it will be available as a podcast where you find your podcasts afterward. And big thanks to Ellie Pell for continuing to push these over to the podcast world. Thank you in advance for anybody who may be tuning in live with us. This is broadcasting at least live to my personal Facebook page, as well as the Trails Collective's YouTube and Facebook channels. If anybody's tuning in live, it's always great to hear your comments and questions. And often I can put those through where I feel like we have a segue for them. And it's great to get those. So if you have any questions or comments for any of our guests as we go, for sure, let me know and I'll plug it through. Pretty excited for a pretty full episode this week. I think we've got at least a dozen voices in from the region and outside of, covering some pretty cool events and efforts. A lot of amazing performances thrown down in our area this past week or two, and excited to reconnect with individuals who I already know and several we've had on in prior episodes this year, and then some individuals who I do not yet know and looking forward to. So thanks for tuning in live or after the effect. All right, so what we're going to get into in this episode this evening while it's airing, we'll get a few general plugs for events that we won't have voices in from. Then we'll get into bringing on Scott Trayer. He is going to introduce or plug the McDowell Mountain Frenzy, and a pretty cool opportunity for any speedsters out there. We will get into the Snowshoe World Championship with new world champion Jennifer Britz, as well as Cole Crosby. We will move into the Virgil Crest Ultras, which I just put on this past weekend. We'll have a number of voices there, and we'll go deep with Virgil Crest. We'll get into Megunticook up in Maine and have Leslie Odell, the women's winner. And I can't remember, a new course record holder, potentially. Got to look back at my notes as we get into the segue. We'll turn to Kismet Cliff, one that has been on my bucket list for a number of years now, up in New Hampshire, one of the Tom Hooper 603 events, and just looks like a really stunning shorter or mid-distance course. And with the women's winner and lowering the course record, Corey Dowe. Hurricane 100 ran its inaugural year down West Virginia. We will hear from RD Matt Young, as well as the men's and women's winners, Alex Minor and HollyAnn, both of Huntington, West Virginia. And then we will close out with the event that I always bludgeon the name of, but it's spelled like Mogollon, but it's not pronounced that way. For some reason, I can't hang on to that. But we'll have Phil Vondra and Yassine and Jamal Daboon on that as well, who were all out there in Arizona this past week. So it's going to be a really full episode. We'll probably wrap somewhere around 9 or 9:30, give or take. But I'm excited to catch up. So thanks in advance to you who are tuning in. Thanks in advance to those who dropped some comments or questions. And all right, let's get into it. All right, a few of the events that I wasn't able to get some voices in from. One, actually, a plug for the Pauling 24-hour running festival put on by Conquer the World Endurance Racing, Stephen Estromera and his crew. I appreciate those RDs or individuals who have things going on in the trail world to just reach out and say, hey, we got this going on, and maybe we can get your voice on. Maybe we can just give you a plug. But for those in the Northeast world looking for an upcoming event, check out the Pauling 24-hour running festival and see what you got. All right, so some of the other results. The Tungus Trail Marathon went down, 5K, 30K, 60K running in Burlington, Connecticut. It was a fundraiser for the Burlington Land Trust. Makes use of some signature blue trails, amazing system of the Blue Trail Network in Connecticut. Probably of all the states that I'm aware of, probably the closest access per capita to pretty cool single track of any state that I'm aware of. It's pretty phenomenal given the population density that they have there. But this is one of them. Justin Kowski, fresh off notching a number of FKTs in a recent trip to Hawaii, which I was noticing and looking at the fastest known times boards, recorded another solid win this round, shaving off nearly 80 minutes off of Lee Schmidt's prior course record for a new mark of 6:04. Lee is getting up there in years a bit, but for those of us here on the East Coast are familiar with Lee being a pretty solid runner for a number of years there. So nice work, Justin. Daniel Rogas lowered the men's 30K course record to 249, and Sarah Connor, the women's, to 327. Sarah, it's good to see you run well in the mix there. And an inaugural 5K was also added in the mix with baseline marks set. The Boulder Field ran, that's Uber Endurance's Boulder Fields, runs in Jim Thorpe, PA, 18-mile, 50K, 100K options in the mix. Congrats to the always solid Justina Wilson. Just doesn't seem to be slowing down in her years. Not only notching the win, but establishing a new course record for the women in 4:51. Also, congrats to teammate Aaron Stredney coming back off the bench. It seems like he'd be doing more climbing these years than running. He lowered the overall 18-mile course record to 2:07. You still got it, buddy. And my college roommate, I didn't even know you were running, let alone running pretty quick. Gerhardt's, call it what we called him, Paul. We didn't use his first name. Gerhardt Stockel, the fourth, if I remember right, buddy. Is that what it was? Runner up in 2:18. It is awesome to see you fit and running well. Good job, man. Carrie Vinarchik also comes out of the gate to lower the women's 18-mile course record to 2:27. I reached out to both, but no dice on getting them on. I guess I need to get a little bit cooler yet. SRT also ran the Shawangunk Ridge Trail as a 70-mile trail traversing the length of the Shawangunk Mountains. Pretty remarkable range. Some pretty amazing climbing. The vistas, the High Lakes region. Pretty incredible. SRT run follows that exactly. Provides no additional markers or course support, which I kind of get, but I think if you're not providing any course markers, you're not providing any really aid station stuff, and you're still charging for an event. I don't quite get it. But in any case, decent turnouts there, and congrats to all those. It's a pretty burly course and a pretty cool effort. So good job. All right, so that's what's shaken. That's what I had time to have on my radar this week. So I am going to weave in to bring in some voices in from the collective. Scott, good to see you again, man.
Ian, what's up?
Dude, thanks for reaching out. And so for those who don't know Scott Traer, he is a Massachusetts, recently transplanted to Arizona with a pretty cool gig out there. And you can let us know a little bit more what you're doing out there and plug the growing and phenomenal entity that you guys all are, and a pretty cool, what sounds like, event with McDowell Mountain. I didn't really dig in to history, whether it's an inaugural or not. But Scott, give us the gist of, one, who you're working for. You can plug it because they're a really wonderful entity doing pretty cool things, and then move into what you got. Oh, actually, a little further plug on Scott for those who don't know Scott. He's had a pretty solid year of his own. Finished second at Black Canyon in February, punched his golden ticket to Western, where he went on to round out the top 10 and return slot there next year, I think, if you so desire. And this event, they're partnering with Solomon for the McDowell Mountain Frenzy. And so get into it. Scott, let us know.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for having me. So I work with Arrow Viper Running, and I agree. They're kind of pushing the limit and the boundaries of the sport and leading the way. So it's an exciting opportunity for me to take this role, doing some race directing. And with that, I think I get to push some ideas in the sport. And one of those ideas is the event we're going to talk about right now. This is a McDowell Mountain Frenzy. It's going to happen December 3rd. This is actually the 13th year of the running. We generally get about 600 to 700 participants, in the distances range 5 mile, 10 mile, 25K, 50K, 50 mile. There's also an accompanying night race, 5 mile, 10 mile, 25K. So even if you don't want to come out to race the 50 mile, which we're going to talk about in a minute, there's a race for everybody. And if you've never ran through the desert at night, it is pretty spectacular. Coyotes howling, stars above you, perfect weather, 50 degrees, dry, no humidity. It's so it's a great event. And the idea that we're kind of putting forth this year, the first of its kind type event, is for the 50 mile. It's kind of a forgotten distance in our sport. Everyone's going up to the 100 mile. There's some 50 milers. I feel a decade ago, there was a lot more competitive 50 milers. So with that said, this event, we have partnered with Solomon. They are providing a laundry list of prizes and value to this race. So to get into that, Salomon is going to provide the male and female winner of the 50 mile with 10 pairs of race shoes, one race singlet, athlete discounts, entries into Salomon sponsored events, inclusion in all Salomon athlete communication and activation. And Aravaipa will also be throwing in a 6-pack of races for 2023. So yeah, I mean, the value, right? If you're just looking at the value, it's a couple $1,000s. But to me, to the competitive athlete that's trying to get their foot in the door at professional trail running, I mean, I need to invite you out here. This opportunity does not exist in our sport. It's simple. You show up, you win, you're in. Your foot's not in the door. You're in the kitchen with one of the biggest trail running teams in the world. So for those athletes that are really interested in pursuing that, I think this is a great opportunity to come out and just see. Maybe you have a great day. Maybe it's your day. Maybe you get this sponsorship, and from there you might have a lifelong relationship with Salomon, and you don't know how your athletic career will change after this. And with that, I want to say a huge thank you to Salomon. I mean, they are one of the best teams in the world. They're always looking and putting on opportunities for upcoming athletes. If you remember, during COVID 2 years ago, they put on the Golden Trail segment for a few segments across the world. And if you got that segment, you got invited to the Azores, full boat. You went down there, you raced the Golden Trail Series. Last year, they put on an opportunity for athletes at camp in Moab, and now they're doing this. So huge thank you to Salomon for just providing these opportunities to the athletes that want to take a shot and are putting in, the time to train and to be competitive. So in closing, thank you for the time here. Like I said, there's a distance here for all races, so I'd love to have whoever come out. And if this event doesn't work for your timeline, know that racing in the desert over winter when it's really cold on the East Coast is pretty great. And I'll be directing 8 trail events from 5K up to 100 miles that there's 8 of them from November till March. Beautiful parks within an hour of Phoenix. So I hope to see some Beast Coasters coming down.
Dude, you're coming in hot. I mean, this is you've been with Aravaipa under a year, right? That you've been out there?
Yeah, I was shadowing the race director last year, and then I was traveling most of the summer. So I will be directing these events as my first events with them. In the past, I've put on some running camps, so I'm pretty familiar. I've been out to all the courses, ran all the courses, have worked on all the events now.
You're diving right in. But it's interesting. I hadn't really thought on the I hadn't really thought of McDowell Mountain because I didn't really dig in. But just to your comment on how everything has really shifted really increasingly long. I mean, it's been like, I don't know. It just seems to be the reality and what people tend to gravitate toward. And I don't know whether that's because the longer you go, it just draws more, like, that's just kind of amazing. Like, I don't know how you do that. Like, it's just more inspirational, but it is unfortunate for those athletes or runners who aren't inclined to do the 100, aren't inclined to do the now 200 or whatever it might be. Cole, I see you in that back end in terms of one that's progressively going longer here. Jake, you're on the back end now, which will bring you in for Virgil in terms of getting your feet wet and cut literally on the 100 mile. But to your point, Scott, yeah, I mean, when I was directing Cayuga Trails, for instance, for a number of years at the U.S. Championship, we had a big purse and we got a big draw. And it seemed like between whether it have been us on the East Coast or whether it be Lake Sonoma or whether it be the North Face 50, like, yeah, I mean, they're for sure Western, Wasatch, whatever, like always had this top tier presence. UTMB was kind of maybe newer in that as well. But you haven't seen that same attention or focus or sell or money going toward events below sub 100. And it's just a really interesting phenomenon based on participation, but that all the dollars seem to flow in that direction. It's just really interesting.
Yeah, 100% agree. And I'm not sure what it is, but I do think, again, I think this event also doesn't really matter where you're from, because you're not coming to, say, a mountain course. I can tell you about the course. There's about 4,500 feet of climbing in the 50 mile. If you've ever been out to McDowell or have seen the Javelina 100, we use a lot of those same trails. But then at mile 31, you have a brutal climb up Thompson Peak. It's over 1,200 feet in 1 mile. Some of it is actually, I was up there, some of it is actually paved in concrete. Don't ask me how they held concrete in grade of 28, 30%. It's super steep. And yeah, we're used to that on the East Coast with the big boulders, right? 1,000 feet per mile. But for this smoothness, it's a unique terrain to be on. But yeah, I mean, weather's perfect. There's no climbing. It's not a super technical race. So I feel like this is just one of those races that anyone can come out and excel in. You're not going to be, weather's not going to be a factor. You can expect 40 degrees in the morning and the race getting up to 60, 65 and sunny. So it's not like you need to be adapted to the desert. You don't need to be adapted to climbing mountains. You just got to be able to come out here and win this thing. That's all it is. And I feel like I just want to get that out there because I know there's a lot of hungry athletes that are right there. They might be winning those regional events or in the top couple, and they're one breakout win away from a career-changing moment. And I know, like I said, I know there are those athletes hungry out there. In this event, it's like I said, first place, you win, you are in. And all you need to do is put together that one day on race day. So if you think you've been putting in the work, this is a great opportunity to give yourself.
And right now, I just glanced at the entrant pool so far. I mean, I'm assuming people may sit and wait, see who kind of climbs in that mix kind of late in the game. But right now, it really is an open field. I mean, maybe there are just some names I don't recognize, but it's a pretty open field at the moment.
It's a wide open field at the moment. We just announced this on Friday. So we just announced, and I'm trying to get the word out there. I do think we're going to see a big uptick in some of the competition just through some of the emails I've gotten. But like I said, I mean, it takes one win. And I think that's what's really, really exciting about this. Like if you've put in the work, this is the opportunity. You don't need to have 20,000 social media followers to join this professional team. You just need to win this race. It's going to be a lot of fun to see. I mean, my vision on this race is, for this to become an annual event that athletes of this caliber are going to target to say, hey, I remember this McDowell Mountain Frenzy. I want to train my whole season for this because this is how valuable getting on a professional team would be for me. So that's the vision for the event. Yeah, and if anyone has any questions, they can email me, scott@arrowviperrunning.com. I'd be happy to answer any emails. And yeah, I think we're going to see, a competitive field. I'm reaching out to all of those athletes that do not have sponsorships for 2023. And I'm trying to get some of them down here. But yeah, I appreciate, you letting me use this platform to get the word out there. I mean, this is all for the athlete. I can't express that enough. I want to provide that opportunity for the athletes that are putting in the work and want this.
Right on. Well, Scott, thanks so much, man. You put in the work on your own. I know that RDing is, man, it's a lot in terms of the drain, and it's tough to continue to run at the level that you're running and about to RD what you're about to RD. So good luck to you in juggling that in this year ahead. Thank you very much. All right, man. Talk to you later. See ya. All right. So we are going to weave into the World Snowshoe Championship. I am going to bring through to the thread Jennifer Britz as well as Cole Crosby. Cole and Jennifer, thanks for taking some of your time out of here this evening. All right. So September 3rd, the World Snowshoe Championships were contested in, tell me how do you pronounce it actually?
Oh, Keviahwe.
I wouldn't have gotten anywhere remarkably close to that. I can't even pronounce Mogollon, let alone what you just pronounced. Yeah, that in Argentina. We have two of the U.S. team contingent here, both based currently in New England on the you're Bar Harbor, Jennifer? Is that where you're based?
Yep. Acadia National Park.
Yeah, right on. And then Cole coming at us from Providence. Both good to have you on. So Jennifer, well, Cole, as long as I've known you, Cole, you've been kind of an ambassador for snowshoe running. You've just been, you've just kind of loved it, right? It's kind of like one of your things. And I think when I was living out in Oregon, I enjoyed snowshoeing up in the mountains. But outside of that, like, I've never been interested in just going for just a snowshoe run, especially when I can just not have snowshoes and I'll just like go for a run. But like you, my friend, you were just always like into snowshoeing. And that just conveyed in the one, your performances, but two, just the excitement in being there. So maybe we can get into that here in a second. And then Jennifer, this must be a pretty incredible moment, if not a bit overwhelming for you.
Yes.
Yes. Congrats on the world championship title. But snowshoeing, I feel like it has always been relegated to just kind of this like niche, doesn't get a whole lot of maybe attention, relatively speaking, kind of side channel. Yet when you just Google or whatever, like Snowshoe Championship, or if you plug in your name right now, there's like a dozen outlets that have, really just in this past day or two, put out nice articles like on you from, there's some local publications. Yes, there's the Trail Runner. But then there's like a Flipboard. There's a designer woman out of UK, like designer woman. Like, what is that outlet that's like covering the snowshoe championship? So both of you can get into it a little bit, but maybe tell us about and you can bounce off one another however you see fit, but the location, the course, the volcano, like kind of simmering in the background there, and the experience. So, Cole, let's start with you in terms of, because you have, and Jennifer, maybe you've got a ton of experience like with snowshoeing as well. It's just my first time connecting with you. So knowing this has been a couple years right in coming, kind of the focus, then and Cole, with you having a 200-mile focus earlier in the year, kind of what you've done, like this is to be able to switch gears and head into like snowshoeing, like this was, that's changing gears in a hurry.
Yeah, definitely. If it was a 100-mile snowshoe, I'd probably be doing pretty well. But a 12K, not too bad. For us, it's 2K longer than what we're normally used to in a standard snowshoe race. So I'll take it. I enjoyed the longer distance. But yeah, no, this was an event that we were supposed to do, I think, August 2020. And with it being postponed, it's kind of nice to have the opportunity to actually get out there and experience everything. And it was a wild trip. Just logistically, all the plane flights that we had, the bus ride, we got stranded in the middle of a mountain pass, 18 kilometers away from from the village that we're supposed to be at. The language barrier, I don't speak great Spanish. I took Cherokee in college, and I'm kicking myself for doing that in a way because, luckily as a group, we were able to kind of fudge our way kind of through things. But overall, like the course is incredible. That village was incredible. The Copahu, like Extremo, like the name of the race, like their whole organization was incredible. They had drones out there, and just the grand scale of things. One, you're in this environment that's like out of like the land before time with dinosaurs and stuff, these prehistoric trees, and like it didn't feel real. Like when you wake up in the morning, you're like, where am I? Like, is this like, am I actually here? Like, what is this place? Because you're running on top of like literally these big, huge, like volcanic rocks. I was thinking of an ultra marathon race called Transvolcania. And it's like, this is Transvolcania, but with snow, which is like just insane. But yeah, I think overall it was just a totally cool experience, and our team did really, really well. Hence we have a world champion, and, our juniors did incredible. And, I'm just really proud of everybody as a whole and collective team. I think we represented really, really well and had a great time. So.
And then Jennifer, when you found yourself stranded on that mountain pass, 18 kilometers from the event, did you get nervous? Not necessarily because you were going to miss the race, but because maybe Cole was there, and like if it came down to it, and if you had to start eating one another, like he's a really skinny kid, and like chances are like that's not going to get you very far.
Probably not. We could always have run the last 18, so I think
it would have been cooler to eat Cole, I think, before you started to run.
That's how you get E. coli, Ian. You gotta be careful.
So then, Jennifer, do you have a long history with the sport as well? Kind of been in it and on the competitive level, and this is kind of one of your things too?
Yeah, so I started probably, I think like 11 years ago. I won an entry to a snowshoe race. And
doing what?
Like,
what was
I was running I'm a trail runner too,
uh-huh.
So mostly a trail runner. I won an entry to a snowshoe race, and I was like, didn't even have a pair of snowshoes. I've hiked before with snowshoes, so I'm like familiar with that. But so someone was like, yeah, just get a pair of these, Dion snowshoes, and you can borrow a pair and see how you like it. And I fell in love with it. It was a great way to get off the roads in the winter and get back on the trails and stay on the trails. And yeah, since then, I've just taken more and more to it. The learning curve is pretty easy. Like if you're a runner, you can snowshoe run. You're just strapping on a pair of running snowshoes, which are a lot smaller than like the big pack carrying ones. And I mean, it's a great sport. I love it. Like I said, it keeps you in the woods. It keeps you off the roads in the winter. It gets you to places like up on top of mountaintops where you can't get to if with just like snow spikes and stuff. So that's kind of where I fell from it.
And how about leading in for both of you? Because I mean, obviously the having the snowshoe championships in August or September. I mean, what's the first time you're touching snowshoes since, I don't know, like
February
6 months ago, if you had like a decent winter. I mean, is there much there, or can you pretty much just kind of pick up where you left off and like, we're good?
For me, like I said, I run Acadia. We have little mountains here. Like their highest peak is only 1,500 feet, but it's a lot of like straight up, straight down climbing. I kind of use that as my training. So a lot of just cross island running, which is like straight up the east side, straight down the west sides of the mountains here. Running in the humidity here, I think actually was beneficial for dealing with like snow climbing and stuff. So, I mean, that's how I trained. There wasn't really much. I know some people were going out on the sand on the beaches and trying to run in dunes, but I don't want to kill my snowshoes.
You can make that Bob's problem. Bob Dion, say, you need to create me a sand shoe for my off-season training or whatever. You need to figure that out. And so now you're just like, well, I don't know, like I'm world champion and like I didn't do anything in the sand. And so you just feel like, clearly you don't need to be doing something in the sand. Not so much. Yeah.
Yeah. I did a lot of, kind of like Cole. I was running, ultras before, like I had a 100-miler 3 weeks before the race.
That's proper buildup, I would imagine. You want to feel fresh going in.
Yeah, you definitely. I mean, it's a 12K, so it's longer than we usually go.
And how was your fitness? How was that? I mean, I don't even know if they translate. How was that 100?
The 100 was pretty good. It was up in Nova Scotia, so it was a lot of climbing too. So I got the climbing in, which translated well to climbing up a volcano.
And then were you like, now I'm not going to do anything for 3 weeks. I'm gonna
pretty much.
I get to sit here and then I just get to go race.
Yeah, actually make the long travel down there. I think it was like 30 hours of traveling from Maine down, and then was ready to go when I got down there.
And then how many other countries actually turn out or are represented?
Oh,
15 is what we had.
Yeah, I think around the 15 or 16. Yep.
Yeah, some of the European countries like to stay where they reside, like Italy and stuff, where we had more of that presence in Japan, but it fluctuates each and every year.
Mm-hmm. And how many people were is just one race, or are you guys going to different heats, like a women's race, men's race, or just like everybody combined?
Yeah, all one.
Yeah, and that's where it came down to you and that Spanish speaking fella, Jennifer, coming down the stretch where you just started crying on him, and you were like, I don't speak Spanish, and Cole just speaks Cherokee, but if we just start crying to each other, we kind of get it.
Yeah, he gave me like I think you're number one, and I was like, yeah, I think so, and he was like, come on down, let's run it, like kind of gave me the motion, like let's run this in together, and it was pretty awesome to like connect with somebody like not even speaking. I speak very little Spanish too, so.
Cole, I got to say though, that's pretty cool that you took Cherokee though. Even though Spanish may have been more useful, I'm not sure about the dialect, but I think much cooler on the Cherokee angle. You should have just spoken Cherokee anyway, because then maybe they would have been confused. They would have been like, here's this usually ignorant, kind of obnoxious American, but like, I don't know what he's speaking. Clearly it's not American. Well, actually, maybe it's actually more pure American, I should say.
True.
As opposed to the this England UK language that we're speaking here.
True.
And then and Jennifer, for you, I didn't get to read it. What's the take or the angle for the Designer Woman UK article?
I didn't even know about that.
Dude, how do you not know about that? Huh.
Oh gosh, I did not see that.
I think people work their entire careers to try to get a page on Designer Woman UK.
Oh my gosh.
And literally, you're, I think, the first person I've ever interviewed that has actually made the big time like that.
I'll have to look that one up.
Yep.
This is my first hearing of it, so.
Well, that's pretty outstanding. All right. And then where does it go from here? I mean, now we're actually getting into winter. You go back to 100-mile training, or is there like a U.S. championship that would be like in February or something like that? That is the next focus for that.
So U.S. championships. Where's that, Cole? Do you know this year?
They have a site yet. It's can't reveal it yet.
Okay.
What do you mean can't reveal yet? This is the Trails Collective. Go ahead and
I know.
just put that out there.
You'll see something here shortly on that. And then we're still waiting to hear from in terms of a world championship location too. So that I don't really have a hand in, but we'll see on that. And either way, it's going to be exciting and possibly in the Northern Hemisphere. So that might be easier for a travel for us Northeastern snowshoers. But yeah, I think, overall, like what I'm excited about is just this article coming out. It's one of the big, like snowshoe really hasn't like been out there. Right. So like, I mean, I've had tons of people just message me in the past couple, like past day, just being like, oh my gosh, snowshoeing and all this stuff. And so like, it's kind of, and especially it being in the summertime, like it's not on people's mind. So it's kind of like, you look at it and you're like, is this a real thing? Like this really happened? Like this doesn't make sense.
Has that ignorant American perspective there where it's just
right.
Pay attention to your immediate bubble.
But yeah, it's exciting. So, I think we're going to have a good, come January, I think it's going to be a really fun season for us to snowshoe and compete. And, we'll have some different races and competitions. And I'm going to go back to doing 100-mile snowshoe challenges. So have a race that's out in kind of in southern Vermont, New York area, kind of near Albany, that I'm going to throw on the snowshoes and see what happens again. So,
well, maybe if it's not decided yet, if you can maybe make the championship in British Columbia, maybe just make it at Whistler. I think that would be a pretty phenomenal location. Maybe you could just make it a point to point from the top of the mountain to the bottom at Whistler. Then I might sign up.
We did talk about some places in Canada, and I've never been over there, but I've heard that the pictures look awesome. So, maybe in the future, who knows? Yeah, right on. Well, where does it go from here? What do you guys got in this 2022 season left? I mean, that's you've done some big things, both of you, then this season. Is it time to just chill out for a bit, or what do you both got left?
I have some kind of projects I'm doing here. Not many races signed up for. Like I said, I ran a 100-miler. I ran a 100K right before that, and then had this race. And so I'm kind of didn't really sign up for anything for this fall. I'll probably do my own projects and then get ready for snowshoe when we get snow up here.
I think you should create a snowshoe training plan by Jennifer Britz, and it's this licensed program, and it has to do with doing 100K and 100-mile first, and then 3 weeks later doing the snowshoe championship with no sand training whatsoever. And like, that's just what it takes to win. And then you can maybe chalk it up to Cole, who's kind of your coach in the program. You did no coaching, but that he only speaks to you in Cherokee, and like that, and you don't even know Cherokee, but like that's how the coaching dynamic works.
That could totally work.
I think it could work too. I think Dion should get behind that. All right. And Cole, what do you got?
I'm trying to figure it out. I'm wanting to do one more longer kind of race. So I've looked at the Tesla Hertz, which is coming up.
That's right. Weren't you going to do like 150 or 200 or something like that at Tesla?
Yeah. So I'm
right.
probably going to do the 150 mile option there. I've been kind of waiting because I did put in my name for that, like the World Trail or whatever mountain running team or whatever for the 80K. So I've kind of been waiting because they're going to pick and stuff. And I would hate to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to run 150 miles like 2 weeks before that kind of trip. So I'm just kind of waiting. If I don't get picked, fine. That's awesome. I'll run 150 miles in Long Island. If not, I'll figure it out. But that's kind of what I'm going to be doing. I signed up for that. It's a free marathon up in Maine, Millinocket.
Yes, definitely do it.
Yeah,
I'll see you up there.
Yeah, just to do something fun. I mean, it's a December marathon, and it just like supports, that town. It's pretty far up there in Maine too. It's north of Bangor.
That's not the one that's on. That's not the one that's on the island, is it?
No.
But
it's up
that's all I
towards
got.
Baxter. Yeah, it's up toward Baxter State Park in Katahdin.
And it's a road marathon?
It's half of it's on a frozen dirt road, and then the other half is on the pavement. So it's the marathon's a double loop. So good luck.
Yeah,
it's like a pretty uphill. I heard too.
Yeah, and the north wind can be pretty tough.
Yes,
but definitely a great event. Supports the town of Millinocket, and there's a lot of crazy people that I get up there. And I mean, I ran it a few years ago, and I think the wind chill was -20. So
I mean, that's right up my alley.
Yeah,
so
you're
good
good.
for snowshoeing,
Yep.
Oh, right up your alley. With Virgil Crest this past weekend, Cole, I intentionally was thinking of you when I got back out the jars of Vaseline to have at aid stations. So I'm not. So when you think of doing your 150 mile effort at this point, do your testicles get a little irritated when you at the thought of? No,
not anymore. I've recruited some really good support in that department, and so luckily, since I made some changes, I haven't looked back ever since. So it's been good.
Well done. I'm thankful that you've progressed in that category.
I'm wearing the big boy tighty whities. That's kind of what you got to do.
For those who not in the know, Cole was running a great race last year at Virgil Crest, 100 mile, right? Not the 100K.
Yeah,
100 mile before a severe case of testicular chafage forced him to pull from the field. It was quite awful, actually, and unfortunate. But he's a new man now. Yeah,
I am. The scars have healed.
Yep. All right. Well, congrats to both of you. Jennifer, for sure, congrats on the world champion title. Hopefully they gave you a big belt that you can wear to work around your waist down here.
I wish.
Yeah.
Bottles of wine. Lots of bottles of wine.
Champagne.
Could you travel with that? Could you even
No,
get it
we
back
had
here?
to drink it all.
Yeah, they should give you a big World Wrestling Federation style belt to wear home.
Yeah.
I think if you're working on building US and world snowshoe running, that's probably the ticket, is having World Wrestling Federation style belts. Because 100 miles are these little belt buckles. There's one somewhere back there, but dude, world wrestling. All right. Just thought. But congrats to both of you, and I really appreciate you taking a little bit of your time here this evening.
Thanks for having us.
Yes,
Totally.
thank you.
For sure.
Go New England, right. Go USA.
Yeah.
All right. Talk to you guys later. All right. So let's see. Now we are going to switch gears and bring a number of awesome voices in with us here from Virgil Crest from this past weekend. Blandford coming on with the most excellent screen background. Caitlin, good to have you there. Caitlin, is it still okay? We're pushing back. Are we going to miss you timing wise? Should I just lead in with you? When we get here? Yeah, I don't have your I think you might be muted. Did I remember somebody was like, oh, Now we lost you all together. All right, come on back in. Log in when you got it. I think it was like Caitlin that. Oh wait, there you are. There you are. Gotcha. Still don't have your audio. See if there's a
Can you hear me, Ian?
I can. Jake, good to have you on there too, buddy. Molly, thanks for streaming in from Reno.
Yeah.
Jarod, good to have you, buddy. And then
Thank you.
Yeah, Caitlin, when you try, oh, there you are. Got it. All right, do we have your audio, Caitlin? Still no audio. I know. Do you have headphones in, or do you want to take those out and just go, without the buds? Still no love. We need somebody who's back here doing sign. I don't understand sign, but at least that should probably be provided. Otherwise, I'm going to get in trouble because, all right, Caitlin, when you just keep playing with things and just randomly just start talking as we're talking, and when we hear you interrupting, one, I'll be like, dude, Caitlin, that's pretty rude. Like, you're just talking and you're interrupting. But the other part will be really exciting because suddenly I can hear your voice.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. That is phenomenal. So
Yay.
somebody in this episode were on a tight, like they were work schedule and maybe could log in like during a break. Was that not you?
It was me, but it's all good. I can stay. So you can go
All right,
whatever order makes sense.
All right. Let me know if I need to send a note or if Molly needs to write a note for your employer or something like that. Yeah.
Thank you. Very kind.
Yes. Well, it is good to have you all on to chat on Virgil Crest for a little bit. Jake is coming in from Ontario. Caitlin from Concord, Mass. Blandford coming in from Roxylvania. Jarod Gabello, Camillus, New York, and Molly Zurn from Reno, Nevada. It is wonderful to have you all on. And part of a common theme here, all of you, was how inspired I was by the number of you who maintained such positive, emotional just states throughout like that whole 36 hours. That was really a common thread that underlied all of you. Blandford, your game face is often on, and you're just like running hard. So I can tell you're kind of focused. You're not necessarily kind of all smiles like when you come in. I mean, you're working. But like Jake, dude, I don't know. Like, I don't think I saw you once come in without this giant, like, well, maybe once around like mile 67, but otherwise always is that, like this giant smile on your face, like this happy-go-lucky kid, like in a playground, like having a good time. Caitlin, same for you, not far back when you were just fending off Bob, the builder there with you for the number 2 slot, and always just kind of looked like that, which is impressive. Jarod, I've seen you years in the pain cave at this point and in pretty crushed emotional states. And this time you weren't. Like, you were just totally even keel. Like, yeah, I mean, whatever.
Yeah,
like,
man.
it's hard, but I'm in a good spot, and we're working through this literally without any doubt in your face. And then Molly, you were freaking fantastic. Like, I don't know. Like, you're like, I don't dig into entrance in the field. Some I kind of recognize names of, but you coming in from Reno, I don't know who you are. And you're just like, this woman, like, why? Like, she's good. And she just doesn't look fatigued at all. And she's running 100K, and here she comes again. And she looks really stellar. So maybe we can dig in on that, but that was really a common theme that underlied all of you. Let's lead in though with, let's lead in with you, Molly, because Molly, I think conversation, I don't even know whether it was like mid-race or post-race in terms of why was Virgil even on your radar? And then coming in, you had some good reflections on, I mean, you've been to some pretty cool courses. You've been around the scene a little bit. You, I think, raced UTMB in the early years, I believe.
Yeah,
UTMB,
second year. Yeah.
Second year, right?
Yeah.
Where it was a little bit different scene then, where like Topher and them were like kind of building it. It wasn't nearly this monstrosity that it is now. And so why Virgil? And then kind of your takeaway based on other places you've been.
Yeah, for sure. It's you, Ian. I'd never heard of Virgil, and my husband and I got this crazy idea that we wanted to run up Whiteface, which also I didn't know was a thing. So we went out there in June, and there was something about it. It was so cool. Just coming back to the Northeast, I grew up in Western Pennsylvania. So come back to low altitude and green grass, and so well organized. I've been trying to make my way back. I've been injured for a little bit, so I really wanted to do 100K. And afterwards, I just thought, well, what else does Ian do? And I saw Virgil Crest, and it just really appealed to me. I love the idea of loops. It felt so containable. I knew I'd be coming by myself, so just having one drop bag that I could keep coming back to. And I think what I told you, the real reason, though, is I wanted to wear my mud shoes. And you thought that it was a drought, but I actually found quite a bit of mud. I thought it was fantastic. So to be in that soft terrain was fantastic.
Yeah, and that, and I guess Blandford and Jarod, you can weigh in on that. Blandford, I don't know, were you there, Jim, for the really kind of walls of water years? I don't remember. Yeah.
2013 or 14.
Some of them were crazy. So when you hear Molly saying she was donning the mud shoes for this year, from what you guys have seen in Virgil, it's just like a sea change of like conditions out there.
Yeah, this wasn't a mud year.
Well, I got to wear my soft terrain shoes. But yeah, Ian, I think what I told you afterwards, I really loved the course and the terrain. And yeah, I've kind of been doing this forever, so I've been to some of the bigger races. And it was like every 15 minutes you were doing something different. And, we probably all on this call done those, 90-minute, 120-minute, the same exact thing. And when we're racing, I don't really care about a vista or some mountaintop. So I just really loved being in the woods. And I loved the single track. And there was so much runnable single track, like that slight downhill. And I was flying, right? I was probably doing 12-minute miles, but I felt like I was flying. So that was super fun. Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. I guess the benefit of trail in terms of the relativity of it. As I was mowing some of the trail a week or so ago, I was just wrapping up one section, and I was sitting in the car, and I think I was responding to some texts, and then there was just this clearly kind of tourist-looking vehicle that turned into Pipeline Road by Pipeline Aid Station. And my first reaction is like, I don't think you want to be making that turn right there, because I don't think this is the way that you want to go. And then it's just some kind of hick-looking guy like myself sitting behind this wheel doing something on his phone in this back road, and yet the car still kind of drives up to me, the window down. I'm just like, I'm pretty sure this person's lost. And then they asked, I think that they were two individuals that were in, I think they're staying at Hope Lake Lodge for some sort of like gathering or party or something like that. It was a father-son, and they were wondering if they could find any trails that led to like vistas, just like this mountaintop vistas. And I was just like, no, there's like, no, I'm sorry. It's like all just like, there's not, like you can go up Greek Peak, but it's pretty much just all wooded trails here. And I tried to direct them where one of the places that the course went for years was outside of Tuller Hill, where you guys did not go this year, but you go up this other, I don't even know if I call it a vista, because you're running on this power line. And so your vista, you're looking at a power line. So I guess that's a very signature Beast Coast vista. Like in Jim, your photo back there, like you go to these really nice ski resorts and they're all pristine at the bottom. And maybe you have like Whiteface, you got this gondola in the background and it's just this beautiful vista. Whiteface in your background, you got this kind of like ugly lodge building, and you get like kind of partially mowed, and you get the outhouses. Like, I'm sorry, that's sorry. But to your point, Molly, I mean, we don't have those things, but it's still, you can get immersed in it. And I somewhat feel guilty that you don't have, that I can't bring you. Well, let me backtrack. So when I was recreating this course and bringing Virgil back, I was thinking of whether I could have you do a point to point. And it was coming through beautiful single track outside of Ithaca. I was going to get you by some waterfalls, some amazing parks. Then the reality was, there's like 110 different private landowners like to make that work. And it just doesn't become feasible in our neck of the woods. There's just not enough like state land to connect it to. And then there's other things that have shaped Virgil with changes in the course, and mountain bike started, so we can't cross mountain bike lines. Hare scrambles with motorcycles started. That chewed up some of the trails that I had even kind of somewhat created. There's equestrian in other areas, which the mud potholes there. It's just crazy. So it is what it is now, but it's good to hear you, Molly, as an example of somebody that made a trip all the way back east and is good with kind of like that flow and in that course. Yeah.
Ian, I was whining to you at one point about the
You were
road.
not whining.
I was. I remember specifically, I said, you didn't tell us about the road. And
yes.
you know,
I'm sorry.
right?
Yes,
And
you
the
did.
second
You did
time
know that.
around,
Yes.
that was my favorite part of the course. It was like the sun was setting, and there was like a mountain. I mean, sorry, there was like there was a barn, and there was all this like hay that was being cut. It was so beautiful. So yeah,
It
you
was.
got the views.
As soon
Yeah.
as you start to remember where those spots are from different vantage points, you can see that road from like different places, and it looks like a monster climb, and you can see that red barn at the top. And when you're coming back down Carson, you can look out at Greek Peak and you see the ski slopes, and suddenly you have this photogenic pastoral like East Coast image, which is just amazing.
Exactly.
And the Finger Lakes Trail used to go down through that farm property, but it changed hands and it was rescinded, and that's how it ended up on Carson Road. But it is what it is. Jake and Caitlin, was this your first 100?
Yeah.
Was your first 100 as well? And Jake as well. And Jake, with your first, like before the race when you were checking in, you were just like something about like, what's the secret? Like what, like how do you do this? Or like what's coming at you or whatever. And clearly you kind of figured it out in the moment. But Caitlin and Jake, for both of you, why Virgil for your first 100? Caitlin, lead with you.
So I thought I wanted to do something that was within driving distance. I didn't really want to, opening up a new distance category felt like a pretty big challenge. And so I wanted something that didn't involve a ton of extra logistics. And so there aren't that many 100-milers in the Northeast. I specifically wanted to run one in the late summer, early fall. And I also loved the idea of a loop. And I loved running a looped race and had a lot of fun with it. And so all of those different categories just checked the box. And I signed up, I think, in January. So it's been on my calendar for a long time now.
Well, that's awesome. And I do appreciate, maybe I'm just getting, relatively speaking, old here, and in terms of kind of what I'm choosing to value versus just competition and in racing. But I do really love the social nature of the loop courses. It keeps it tighter. You're more connected to your crews. You're more connected to your friends. You're seeing people out and back. If you're somebody like Jim or Jake or Caitlin, actually you're all, except for you, Jarod, who were not a winner. We'll get to you as a back of the packer there. But the rest of you are kind of all running for these like wins. And the benefit is you always know where somebody is. For instance, when you leave pipeline, like how far back are they? How do they look? You can gauge that. And the fields aren't too deep. And in some years, there's been some pretty competitive races going. Blandford, you were in a couple years where maybe it was you or Dennis, maybe where you were jockeying for position there, where it can get really competitive. And I've seen that play out a number of years, and it's tight. Like this person, you leave and they're like a half mile back or whatever, and they're gunning for it as well. And like, man, you just know they're breathing down your neck. And so I guess that is the competitive benefit of, I guess, the loop, or the out and back, I guess, portion thrown into the loop. And Jake, how about for you?
It fell into my timeline perfectly. I didn't really know much about the race, to be honest, before I signed up. So I signed up and then realized how much climbing was involved. So I found like a 300-meter long ski hill in my area, and I just ran up and down it. I did like even 60 kilometers just up and down, just mind-numbing. But to Molly's point, the course was wonderful, absolutely stellar, and I felt like I was floating going through that forest as well. It was something else. And to your point, Ian, I was running afraid of Caitlin the whole time because I kept seeing her and she kept looking so fresh. And I was like, oh my God. Every hill I would go up, I would be like, do you think Caitlin's walking up this hill, Jake? Do you think she's walking? I was like willing myself on, running afraid of her. So yeah, but shout out to my family. Thank you for crewing for me. I know you're watching. So
and with your family, it is fun to see that too, with some of your crews that I get to see each year. But like Karen, for you, Jim, I mean, she's been your like ace in the hole. I mean, she's dialed in. She's out there scouting the race ahead of time. For the day before, I think the day before the race, maybe 2 days before the race, when my markers were out around the Joe's Figure 8 area, they just sent me a text of a tree being down over one of the areas where a crew was supposed to have access. And he sent me the photo, and then suddenly I was confused. I was like, pretty sure I just got the same photo from one of my course markers, and this is coming from Blandford. Like, how did Blandford get a photo of the tree down? Is it just going through a network? And like, this is weird. And they're like, oh, yeah, Karen's just kind of scouting the course, just making sure she's dialed in as a crew.
Yep.
And finding any hitches that are out there in her crew plan. So that was pretty awesome. And so to Jake, to see your family out there, I mean, they were just studs, right? I mean, it's not easy as crews. They're getting a long day and a long night as well. I guess the benefit of Virgil is it's a pretty crew accessible. It's not, you don't have to drive very far. But I mean, they were champs as well. And it was cool to see how excited they were. And I think that you get maybe a Bills game out of it this weekend. Is that what I heard?
That's right. It'll be in the mud lot for anyone watching out there. So I hope to see some serious fans jumping through tables.
And then for Jarod, you're glutton, right? I mean, it's not you sign up for the long distances. Last year, Jarod in the 100 as an example. Was this your fourth, Virgil?
This is I think technically my third. I did fourth. Yes, I did the 50 miler, the relay, and then 2 100s. So this is my fourth one, yeah.
And the 100 last year, for those who didn't get to witness Jarod, he gave you enough time. So he was sitting in a cozy chair by a fire at the Hurt Locker for quite a long time in the middle of the night, thinking that maybe he wasn't going to go anywhere. Like he was just like done. But it took enough leverage and arm twisting and maybe belittling to kind of get him back out the door of that aid station, and went on to impressively make a comeback and finish. And then this year, it's like you came back you're just like a changed person. Like it's just this maturity, almost as if I just watched this little, my 13-year-old daughter right now, maybe Maren, maybe you're watching out there, is now blossoming into a teenager at age 13 here. Jarod, I feel like I just watched you blossom into your adult years in Virgil 100, because you were just like on. Like, I know that it was hurting. I know that there were certain time goals, but like there was literally never a doubt in your face that you weren't going to keep going and like get that done.
Yeah. Ever since 2013, when my buddy Peter, I crewed him for the 50 mile. It rained the entire time. It was the most horrific thing I've ever seen. And I walked away going, I got to do this. And I did the 50 miler, and then I was going to do the 100, and then it got canceled, and last year I came in when it came back, and I begged you for years to do it, and I did it, but chafing and a ruptured tendon really took me out. I realized that the attitude change would help, and Dustin also. It was also the difference, but it's all about, for me, it's all about letting go. The things I've learned and the things you mentioned at the beginning of the race was, your soul's going to be crushed. Just wait for the sun to rise, kind of thing. Just letting go and just kind of vibing through the forest and smiling. And rule number one is having fun, not looking at the watch or anything else, and just and staying in front of Jim. If you know you're in front of Jim Lampton, you know you're going to finish usually. So that's it. And honestly, I learned to trail run through Red Newt Racing, and the people that involved in it just taught me every year how to just stay calm and collected and to get into it. And this year, even though it wasn't a very fast time for me, I've done much faster. It felt so good that I put it on the top of my list of one of my biggest accomplishments.
And it looked like that. Again, I think that it was phenomenal. And to see you come into Joe's figure eight that last time and then take off running like on the ascent, I mean, that's just awesome, right? In terms of, that's just all you can hope for an individual, to still see that inspiration, to know that your last section is kind of in the barn and you've got some wheels left, or you're willing the wheels to be left. It was just awesome. It was really inspiring to see. And
thank you.
Yeah, totally. And then Blandford, dude, you're getting old. But you're not slowing down. Like, this was 45 minutes faster. What was it versus last year?
Hour and 10 minutes.
Hour and 10 minutes faster.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for good or bad, I think I've changed the course for Virgil literally every year that we've run it. And I don't know, I respect that there are certain long-standing events that you have certain maybe course records that you want to be able, you want to compare apples to apples. How do I stack up against X person years ago? I've run some of David Horton's races finally, and they were ones that have been going forever. And you know where you stack up against individuals from X amount of years ago, decades ago in some cases. But with Virgil, I change every year. And like, I don't know. I've kind of enjoyed doing it, right? Like I'm out there putting in some miles too. And I'm like, I've never seen this trail before. And I think I want to take you on it. Or like this was a tricky turn last year. I could mark it, or I could just take the whole thing out of there. And kudos to all of you. And not that I gave you a choice, but being flexible where I'm like, all right, I'm changing the course again, like a week before the race. And for those of you who don't necessarily know the course, it's like, well, it doesn't really matter. I don't know the course as it is, and it doesn't matter. But some of you do know it, and some had like been training on it and like, crap, like you just changed it on me or whatever. But that's also, I think, speaks to what I've taken away from my time at the helmet, creating, and at my time in here at Virgil, is the faces and the individuals that have kept coming back to make it so fun, right? It's the community, it's your family, and you see people growing up. So like 5 of the people that dropped in that pod with Tom Nestorick and Jim Lampman and a few others that were there, these are people that have been with the race from the beginning or the outset in some cases. And like, I've seen these people grow up. Right now Jim came on like kind of a relatively fresh young stud, like at that time. And he came out racing pretty hot. Now he's just a bit older, and he's got a ton of 100 miles under his belt, but he's also got like 2 kids and, you know, a different job and a little bit older. And so it's interesting to see the change there. But Blandford, you're kind of one of those mainstays where you've had, let's see, remind me, you ran the 100, 2 100s and 3.
Yeah. First, I finished 100 the first year, and then DNF the second year, dropped to the 50, and then 15 was the 50, and then the last 2 years was the 50. So I have 4 50s and 1 100.
And for those who don't know, Jim's a beast. Really, you are. And just your daily routine or life. I mean, I know it's your community. It's what gives your day presence, and you're out just communing in like nature and like these spots that are very personable for you. But Jim and Jake, who just went vertical on us over there, in terms of spending the time on the ski slopes like you did. I mean, Blandford, what's your, maybe it's different now, but what's your average weekly elevation gain? I mean, I'm forcing you to toot your horn here because it's pretty impressive.
It's probably this year, it's probably anywhere between 10 to 13. It's not as much as it was a few years ago. I just been adding in a little bit more speed so I can run faster at the times I need to. And I think that really helped over last year with coming off of some bigger years of elevation. Now I just want to get my legs moving so when I can run. So, yeah.
And clearly it worked. What, it was 2 years ago that it was it was 1 million vertical feet in like 2020, was that?
Yeah. I think that's
yeah. Which, like, I don't know, like I can't count to 1 million. I mean, I guess you're logging it in that, but that's a ridiculous amount of like vertical gain. And so with that in your wheelhouse, does Virgil still see? Well, I guess I feel like that's the beauty of Virgil as well. Like I now have some experience to have lived in mountain states or traveled to races where you get like 8-mile climbs, or you get these 4,000 foot like elevation gain climbs. And I think there's definitely something to be said for those in terms of feeling pretty, I don't know, like you can get in that grind, you can get in that rhythm, and you just go. And it's pretty impressive that like, wow, like I'm still going uphill like 8 miles later. Like Virgil, there's not that. And you get at most, like a mile up or like a mile down in terms of length, and like maybe 700 feet of elevation gain or something like there's, to your point, Molly, earlier, like it's always changing and it's always fluxing, and you can be using different muscle sets and drawing on different things, and you're not getting the same repetitive beatdown. Does Virgil, for you, Jim, given your wheelhouse of elevation, like do you still feel the cumulative gain and kind of mileage out there, or what does it feel like for you in terms of vert?
This year, I mean, there were hard climbs. I just felt really good with climbing this year. I was running the first climb out of the Hurt Locker. I ran that hill every time. But then coming back up the ski slope, that one, the first time it was often one running up, but the second time that sun, when it came out on the ski slope, I don't know what time that was. Wow, that wiped me out there. I kept moving, but that was brutal. But then the third time, since I knew it was my last time, I could mix some running in there. But that hill was I think that was my hardest part of the course, trying to move up that hill. It just was like weight being put on your shoulders. It just felt like, I don't know, the other ones just didn't seem, I mean, they were still steep climbs, but that hill it was a good one. It really made you kind of think the whole time of your running, is like you had that hill to get back up to the top to run back to the Hurt Locker.
Molly, you had mentioned Carson Road being a highlight coming back in and just a point of beauty in the day. For the rest of you, I mean, can you comment on some pinpoint highlights or times out there where it just made you in the moment just be grateful to be where you were doing what you were doing, or moments for Jake and Caitlin it being your first run through? Like, I never saw it, but I'm assuming at some point you must have felt like crap. I don't think that was the case, but I'm just assuming that you're kind of mortal and you felt it. So there were any times where I didn't see that the wheels really fell off and maybe you were like, this sucks, or so any, I guess, real highlights or spots that were not highlights that you worked through? Jake, let's go with you in case we lose you again when you go vertical.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Not at all.
Yeah, so to answer your first question, after that first climb, and then you start descending down the other side after you do that first climb from the Hurt Locker, seeing runners go into that fog for me was surreal. It was really incredible, and seeing the speed of some people on that first initial hill was pretty mind-boggling as well. Certainly that sunrise was amazing, and really just the forest itself was just really beautiful. I remember I was running with Caitlin at one point, and we were making like awing noises pretty regularly. Yeah, it was a phenomenal trail, but the wheels did slowly start falling off. I tore my shoes at mile 40, so I had like sticks and stones in there for 60 miles, so it became a bit of a pain. But to Jim's point, that hill, I said to Chris, who's a phenomenal guy, my pacer, shout out to Chris if he's watching, we're going to go as hard as we can up this last hill. Like, it's not going to break us. We're not stopping, I loved that hill. I loved it. I love doing hard climbs like that. But yeah, go ahead, Caitlin.
I agree. I loved the hill. I really leaned into it, and it was really cool, as with loop courses is neat to see the course at different times throughout the day in different lighting. It was, while a lot slower to do pipeline at night, I really enjoyed that time of night. And it's kind of for me, I was definitely hiking at that point, just wanting to stay on course, wanting to make sure I was sure-footed. But it was a real joy to get to the end of it and see like the glowing aid station, and the volunteers could not have been kinder, and just intuitive, just knowing like what we needed, like stuffing like little boiled potatoes and like bacon strips, like putting them in our pockets for us. And I really, like everyone else, I thought the course was fantastic, and I loved seeing the same aid stations, seeing the same volunteers over. It was and so much camaraderie among the racers. This isn't specifically about the course, but just I really felt the power of the trail community in this race.
And how about for you? And then I was about to say for you, Jarod, but then I remember that I wasn't going to say when you were talking though, Jake. It seems like that at one point I do remember you turning into a somewhat rabid animal, maybe because you were looking at whether Caitlin was going to be making up time on you. But it was almost like you started foaming at the mouth, looking for little ginger chews.
Yeah, I started having some serious GI issues around like mile 70. And again, just to Caitlin's point, I believe his name was Rob, a wonderful volunteer. I think he may have also been performing in the relay, but he gave me those ginger chews for the first time, and it was like I was a new man. It was just the best thing ever. So I've already bought them on Amazon. I've already got them right over there. So we're good to go along.
That's awesome. And then Jarod, how about for you? I mean, any kind of transcendental moments for you, or did you have what was your ginger chew?
Well, I think I know Rob. I think he's a hasher, and shout out to all the hashers who are out there making me happy, because they're a bunch of crazies just like I am. For me, the section leading into JK and the loop after JK was always very transcendental. There's those deep gullies, and I would remind myself to actually look at the beauty of the Finger Lakes Trail, and I'd always smile and just be happy. I mean, I just remind myself, you want to be here. You live for this. And the Virgil does not disappoint with the trail. It's just unbelievably gorgeous out there. It's such great forest.
And Yassine Daboon just logged on to the back end as well. We'll bring him on to a segment later. Yassine, good to have you on. Run a little bit behind, but it was very good energy in the moment. I don't even know if the screen tolerates the number of people on here. Let's see if it works. But Yassine with was it the inaugural? I mean, at that point, Iroquois Trail 100 win, or were you second year? It's all blurring in my head now.
Hi, everybody. First year.
Yep. And that was also your first 100 as well, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So for Jake and Caitlin, I mean, that's the natural trajectory of Virgil. I mean, it's just this powerhouse national class event where chances are if you win the 100, you're going to, like Yassine, go on to get pro contracts, I think is usually how it goes.
Yeah. You're on your way. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And this was and so Yassine just ran. I'm going to back you back off here in a second and make you go away, and then I'll bring you back on. But I always mispronounce it. How do you really pronounce the race you just did? Because I always bludgeon it.
It's the Mogollon Monster 100.
Mogollon,
not Mongolian. Everybody calls it Mongolian Monster, but the Mogollon Rim is a really unique area of northern Arizona. Really tough race we can talk about later.
Yeah. Well, it is good to see you, and it's good to see you pop on during the Virgil thread. So as you're looking at this screen, Jake just ran his first 100 and took the win. Caitlin just ran her first 100 mile to win. Molly is in your neck of the woods in Reno, Nevada. She took a 100K win. Jarod just had his second 100-mile finish there. And Blandford, if you've not crossed paths with also a prior 100-mile winner at Virgil and won the 50-mile this year. So
right
it's a little
on.
bit of a winner's circle here.
Hey, congrats to everybody. And Virgil has a special place in my heart. Obviously, it was my first one. So where Ian's the one who kind of got me into all of this mess. So I'm very grateful.
Good. All right. Now I'm going to kick you out again
all right.
I'll talk to you again in a little bit. And so Blandford for you, and we'll try to wrap the Virgil segment. I know we're a little bit back, so thanks for those who may be on. Corey there in the back end. Leslie will probably sign on pretty soon. So I appreciate it. Blandford, but you keep coming back. I mean, you have a wonderful community around you. You're really much a fabric of volunteering at events as well, bringing out friends and getting them into the fold. Really just a phenomenal community-minded individual on the trail scene. But I mean, you were one of the ones that I think wanted to see Virgil come back. What keeps you coming back too? And did you have any kind of transcendental moments out there?
I mean, me and Karen just love coming back to that area. The community, the race, the trail. It's just, I just love being on a ski slope. It's just neat being out there. Especially if you're a skier, it's just like a total different world. And the summer, it's just, it's so jaggedy. It's not smooth. There's, you're going up and down, and you just can never really get in that groove, even on a nice downhill on the ski slope. It's just ripped up, it's raw. And I wanted to thank you for the wet feet right from the start. That was kind of that was interesting. It was like all of a sudden it's just like your feet were soaked, and it's like, where did this come from? But that was cool. But
Well,
yeah,
that's
I love the whole course. It's it's just one of those ones that I want to come back to every year, and I'm glad it finally came back after last year. And I'm trying to convince more people to come back, and I don't understand why more people don't come up to that area. And it's just great. We just love it.
Yeah, and I guess that's one of the, I don't know, and I try not to dwell in that spot, but in terms of why certain events will grow and just others won't.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know part of the trajectory has been, it seems like some people, or an increasing number, won't even waste their time on 100 unless it's a Western qualifier, unless it's a UTMB qualifier, unless it's a Hard Rock qualifier.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of get that. But at the same time, that's not necessarily the case. And there's other events that I've seen really grow in numbers where Virgil hasn't necessarily. And I think people often, shortchange, one, the difficulty of Virgil. I think they very much overlook it, even though they have some of the metrics there. But then two, it just kind of gets shorted. I don't know. And I think it is such a wonderful event. I think, and the way I've built it is that it is very runnable. Like in my eyes, it is, because I have been around. And again, the caveat is not that you should be running all the time. Obviously, there's still a lot of elevation gain. You should be power hiking that stuff. But like in terms of footing, like when you're surrounded by, where'd you grow up, Molly, in PA?
Into Erie, Pennsylvania.
Erie. Yeah. So a lot of that central corridor in, for sure in PA, Caitlin, out in your neck of the woods, whether it be some stuff in Connecticut, when you get into the Whites, the Greens, Catskills, like we're surrounded by a lot of just rock kicking technical terrain that, man, when I'm tired and I just find myself kicking rocks, like I don't know how many times I've cursed so loudly into the air, like I'm so tired of kicking these rocks. And like you just don't get that at Virgil. I mean, and it lets me just be in a better place emotionally about it. And so
you kick roots.
there are a couple. There's a couple. But even there, like when I've spent time living in Hawaii, and so when even there, the trails in my backyard, which was the Hurt course. I mean, if you want to talk, like I guess I have enough experience now where I've lived in these places where it recalibrates your metric. And so there in Hawaii, there, if you want to talk about like roots, like that's what I think of, like these root jungles that will just like roots as high as your shin or whatever, and you're like going through them like tires at like football practice or something. I don't know. So I think it's amazing in that regard. What anything else that you think would be fun to plug, or anything you want to bring up with one another, or anything in that regard before I see what you've got next and coming up?
I love like looking around and like I saw everyone, which was so fun. Again, just a testament to the loop course and just the arrangement is just like I saw Molly and saw her flying around, like with a smile on her face, and like it was really cool.
Agreed. And again, I'm sure you guys were at points not smiling, but I only ever saw you smiling.
I don't think so.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Jim? I cut you off there.
Just a shout out to the volunteers too.
Yeah.
That was great. Yeah.
Yeah. So what do y'all got coming up? Anything left in 2022? Jim, start with you because you're.
I'm just going to be out doing my weekly hill running with all my group of the Hamburg, PA mountain runners. So thankful to have all them to run with, and if an event comes up that I think I might go for, I right now I have nothing. I dragged my feet to the last minute. I signed up Tuesday, Wednesday for the race, so I'll keep dragging.
Right.
But yeah, thanks again for everything. It was a great event.
Molly, what you got?
I got some ski mountaineering racing, hopefully coming up in March, with a partner with my husband, which is always a thing, right? Racing as a team, with your spouse. So hopefully be in Italy doing that. Your
dog looks pretty wicked cute at the moment.
Yeah, we call him Bendy. That's super duper. But yeah, he's taking a nap.
That's pretty fantastic flexibility going on in that.
Yeah, I wish I had that.
Happy place. Yeah. Jake, how about for you?
I just signed up for Beast of the East 100 today, and I'm thinking about doing that 50 miler a week before the Mountain Frenzy one that
Dowe Mountain
talking about.
Yep. Which one's the Beast of the East? I don't know.
It's Kings Mountain in North Carolina.
Oh, okay. And when's that?
That's December 10th.
Right on. So clearly your first 100 was an okay experience, and you might as well just, you learned.
I just loved it. I'm with Caitlin. Like it's amazing how everybody's so different, but through doing the same thing, you create such a bond, and everybody was just, even though you're getting your soul crushed, everyone was just so great. So, smiling and always cheering each other on. It's awesome.
Caitlin, what you got?
No plans. No, I just kept it open on purpose, just this being a new distance. So just more playing in the whites as much as we can throughout the fall and then ski season.
Nice. Do you do ski mountaineering as well, or alpine?
Just a tiny bit, mostly inbounds, and then as we're able to, getting up into doing touring in the whites. Really, we stay usually pretty local.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then Jarod, I know you're in an intense academic window here for the next 3 weeks. That's kind of what's turned to your focus.
Yep. This was a little gift to me, running Virgil before 3-week exam that I have coming up. As far as races, I always try to choose at least one red newt and Finger Lakes 50 if I can get into it. And I was thinking maybe of aiming for Leadville next year, but just because my buddy did it, and it was something else. But no plans in of itself. I always have to hang back a little bit.
For one of those races that became also, one of the originals, but also just became so big in terms of kind of the corporate conversion or whatever for Leadville, I think I've yet to see somebody come away from Leadville not just really excited about their Leadville experience. It seems like everybody has really cool experience with Leadville and just becomes part of that larger Leadville community. Yeah, so it looks like it worked on you.
Yeah, I had never been run out west, and to be next to my friend as he achieved a lifelong goal, and to be part of it. I became a barefoot runner before I knew it was a thing, and then he handed me the book Born to Run, and slowly but surely he dragged me into ultra running, and then next thing you know, within 10 years to Leadville. So that was a big thing. For me though, Virgil was my big one. So that's the one I always keep on fighting for. But I thought, well, hell, maybe I'll try that,
Right on. What the hell? Might as well. Yeah. And Molly, thank you for making the trip out for Red Newt for Whiteface, let alone doubling back for Virgil. So I really do appreciate you guys being part of
super fun.
The community.
Yeah. Thank you.
Totally. Well, right on. I appreciate you all taking some time here this evening to weigh in. Again, I found all of you impressive and inspirational this week, and I was grateful to be out there with you, seeing you come through. So well done to all of you.
Thank you, Ian.
All right. Thank you, Ian. Yeah.
Sure.
Thanks for a great race, man.
Right.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Phenomenal, Ian. Phenomenal.
Right on. All right. I will catch you all down the trail somewhere.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Transitioning. And thanks for all of you on the back end. I know I tend to run on a bit, so we're running a few minutes behind, but one of our guests for the Hurricane 100, HollyAnn Swann, is a coach, and she just texted that they are running about a half hour late on their bus. They are en route to a meet right now, so actually this might work. So if any of the Hurricane 100 crew, we'll see if we can close out with you if that's not already the plan. Her bus is going to be like 9:25, so I think this is going to work pretty well. All right, so I am going to transition here to bringing on Leslie. Thanks for being on there and for messaging me there for that link.
It's like, I haven't gotten a link.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, well, here we are. But good to see you again.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah. So Leslie Odell, for those who may not be familiar with Leslie, she's pretty awesome. And I think I know I can say that about you because you don't have a choice. I'm here saying about you. I think you finished pretty much first or second in the vast majority of races you've ever run. And that's not necessarily just cherry picking it. I mean, there've been some solid fields there, with some really great performances. And she is a New Hampshire resident. So you get to play in the whites quite often.
Yeah, I get beat up.
You get to beat up. And you are an EMT, right? Is that the
an advanced EMT.
Advanced EMT.
Kind of in between EMT and paramedic. I can do a lot of meds and IVs and stuff like that. So
yeah. And a couple kids as well, right?
Just one.
One, okay.
He's 16.
So definitely some juggling for you as well.
Yeah.
And so, but you've been on the scene a while, just kind of cranking. So Megunticook is a newer gem, very but technical in Camden, Maine.
Yeah.
They ran its third year this past weekend. In the mix, here is Leslie, your fourth overall, and the women's win in 6:09. Was there a second distance in Megunticook that happened last year that they just didn't include this year?
They had a 10K that went on.
That was it.
Yeah, that was it.
Yep. But they didn't do that this year?
They did.
But they did.
They did, but a lot of people, there was no marker for the turn, so most of them just got lost.
Well, so 10K, 10K turns into a 20K and everybody wins, just more distance.
Yeah.
And so you've been around a bit in terms of some technical train courses, conditions. This was your first Megunticook though, right? You didn't run last year?
No, yeah. We took a trip out there last year and decided it was really technical. It's not like a lot of elevation gain, like just up to the top of the mountains, but it's really technical. And then this race was just up and down. It was insane. It's like 7,000 feet of gain.
And what was it? You said about 12,000 feet?
7,000.
Oh, 7,000.
In a 50K.
Yep.
It was pretty rough, and it was really humid. Every race we've done this year has been brutal, like just humid. We haven't gotten a break.
And the course is pretty mixed, right? Like I think there was an initial video or two. I think when I was doing the article on ranking different races in the Northeast, and I was looking for videos to weave in or whatever, the one I could find in Megunticook, I think didn't seem to sell it. Like do you start like on a road section and then you get up into the trail or technical stuff? Yeah,
you do maybe about 2 miles up a paved road, but it's up. It's like a mini Mount Washington up to the top of a mountain, and then you come down, and then you hit the trails, and then there is a second, like twice you go on this road, but it's not easy. It's just it's really hilly. It's like a lot of climbing, and then you end up on all these crazy out and backs to get to all these different summits, and it's pretty hard. Like and the trails are all really technical. The road wasn't fast because it's pretty steep. Like up, and then maybe a little down and up, and then you come back and it's the same way. I don't even know. And it was hard because the aid stations were really spaced out a lot more than I thought they were going to be.
Okay.
And a lot of people really suffered. A lot of people dropped. A lot of people I felt good up until around like mile 15. I was like, whew, now I'm feeling it a lot, but I was still passing people that were just dying. It was.
And a combination of the distances between stretches, or is it just that technical of terrain that it's not even necessarily that long on paper, but once you pair it with the technicality, it just takes a while.
Yeah, especially the end. They kill you at the end. They take you down like the most technical stuff all the way down to the road from all the way up, and then you come back up. And then there's this trail that we actually did last year, and I was thankful we'd done it last year because it looks like it might be kind of flat, but it's technical, and it's just almost up the whole way for like 2 miles. And you're at the end and you're just dying. And then you get on another trail and you think you're almost there, and it goes for another 2 miles.
Great. It sounds fantastic. Like I just want to go sign myself up, for that one too. Because I just want brain games. I just want to be played with.
It's really hard, and you wouldn't think of it if you step back and you look at these mountains. You're like, they're really short. There's nothing to it, but no, they're actually really hard.
And that's part of the one of the remarkable things, right? Is in Camden there, you get this, like, they don't seem like that big of mountains, or maybe, I mean, 7,000 feet of gain is pretty real, right? But then when you put it, knowing that it's like a coastal range, I mean, that's some pretty significant relief in short order.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
And I guess the benefit, though, it looks like you got some pretty remarkable views or vistas on that course.
Yeah, it's really pretty. You came out to a lot of views, just looking out over the, I guess, Penobscot Bay is what it is. Yeah, it's really pretty for a second. Then you go back down and you're like, this hurts. But yeah, they reward you with some cool views, and it was nice.
And it seemed like some good community. I mean, it's a good crew that's putting it on, and it feels very communal.
Yeah, they're really nice people. They have, I forgot what the name of the group was that has taken it over. But most of them don't really know anything about racing and trail running. And the guy who used to put it on was there to kind of lead them this year, but they were kind of just learning. So it was pretty cool to see this group take it over, or just not really know what they're doing and put on a pretty good race. I mean, they can make some improvements, but we all can whenever we put on a race. I used to put on a race for 6 years, and I had to learn the hard way with learning how to park right and everything like that.
Way to be their guinea pig. I mean, that's good. So it should be maybe more, even more well-oiled machine next year when you go back.
Yeah. I don't know if I'll go back.
Yeah. And so I know that maybe half in jest, but it would just be because, I mean, that was a tough course, tough day, with just a lot of races out there. I mean, in terms of going back, in terms of the desire or not to go back.
It was just so hard. I think I just have I'm all set with that one. I mean, so if the weather had been different, I think it would have been different story. And I planned not, every race we've done has been so humid and so hot. And I said, if it's going to be like that, I'm not doing it. And then we went, and it was like, the temperature is going to be nice and cool. But no, it was more humid than Ragged 75, and that was just brutal. We were just soaked. You might as well have just jumped in a river. That's how soaked you are. And I think that made it the hardest part. And just thinking of that, I'm like, I don't think I want to go back just in case it's like that again.
Could you go jump in the bay afterward?
I wanted to, but I could barely walk. Sure. I just wanted to go back to the campsite and then take a shower. I'd fallen I didn't fall at all until like the last mile. Huge hole right in my leg, and it's literally a hole, and my calf just cramped up right when I fell. Yeah, I was cramped. I was like holding back cramps for like the last 10 miles, and I've never had that before in my life. I just saw S-caps, nothing. It was brutal. But yeah, so I just I need to go back and I need to clean the hole in my leg.
Yep. Good thing for the advanced EMT skill set there.
Yeah, I know. I'm not calling names. Listen, I'm not going to the ER. Yep. Yeah. Advantages.
Well, right on. Well, nice work again to extending your run of first or second place finishes.
Yeah, thanks.
That's pretty awesome. It's good to see some of the photos of you and Ryan out there. And so I know there's some pretty beautiful, at least it makes it like there's some pretty beautiful photos in Joe's couple spots. So
yeah, it is. It's really pretty. It's definitely worth a visit.
Yeah. Right on. What else you got? Anything left in 2022 that you're signed up for or planning on?
We signed up for something, but I'm not sure we're going to do it. Might be a little burned out.
Yep.
With traveling. I'm really busy right now. I'm going to school full time and work full time, and I actually just hurt my back at work on Monday. So I don't know how I'm going to be. I'm actually out right now for at least 2 weeks.
Oh, bummer. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. It'll heal. Yeah, so I don't know if we're going to do what we planned, but maybe some smaller races that are closer.
Well, maybe good opportunity then to scale back and just chill out for a little bit and sit and watch something.
Like that.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Thank you so much, Leslie, for joining us. Thanks for kicking back a little bit.
Yeah,
Thanks
welcome.
For being patient and logging on. And hopefully a little bit of, I think, text thread there with Ryan. I would love, still on the list, to get up there and do the Prezi Traverse, and would love to do it with you guys.
Yeah, let us know.
Yeah, till that time. Right on. All right. Well, I will chat with you more next round.
All right. Thanks, Ian.
All right. Thanks, Leslie.
Bye.
All right. Bye. All right. Rolling into Corey in the hot seat.
Hi.
It's good to see you again. And sporting the Cornell wares as well.
Yeah.
That's outstanding. So Corey Dowe is joining us from your North Conway. Is that what's going on? Yep.
Mm-hmm.
She took the women's win on Sunday, also setting a new course record in 2 hours, 25 minutes at the Kismet Cliff run. This has been one that's been on my bucket list for a couple of years, and I thought it would happen last year, but then I started coaching and well, it just didn't happen. Sometimes it conflicts with Virgil. Virgil just ran this weekend, but there's always maybe next year, given it's a Sunday race. But for your new course record in 2:25, 5 minutes under your prior best from 2021, you've had a pretty solid year. And this seems hopefully to be a kind of a capstone of building mountain fitness. And hopefully you're in a pretty happy place with that effort. Hopefully you're pretty stoked on how that day shook out. Let's dig in a bit to this course, how the race fit into your season. Maybe most pressingly, the most incredible question you've ever received from a student regarding sexuality, and then just how Kismet went down.
All right, that was a lot.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
But you're a Cornell grad, so I feel like you can handle that. You've already compartmentalized it in your head, split it apart into A and B answers to the sections of the questions, and we'll just see where you go with it. Really, yeah.
Oh man. Okay. My first, I just want to make a little claim right now that this is past my bedtime. So,
sorry
if I'm not thinking straight, that's why. But no, this race was a lot of fun. I was looking forward to doing it this year because last year was my first year doing it. But I mean, I've run on the trails because I live up here, so I'm pretty fortunate in that way, I guess. But yeah, I was happy with the result. I was hoping to be able to drop some time from last year. Last year I ran a 10K the day before, and this year I didn't, so that I could maybe run a little faster. Yeah. But the course is a lot of fun. It goes up and over Cathedral Edge and Whitehorse, so that's really pretty. Although I was thinking about it after, and this year I don't think I really looked at the views at all, which is weird. I normally try to at least take a peek, but I was on a mission. And after we go over Whitehorse, it starts the trek up North Moat, which is the harder part for me. And then back down North Moat, back up Whitehorse, and then you get to roll down. Pretty much once you get back to up Whitehorse, it's like, all right, I'm gonna make this. I'm gonna finish this race. It's all downhill from here. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
And is it for those who aren't familiar with Kismet Cliff, if you watch some of the clips, I think going into their first year, early year, whatever the entity was that had a drone out there, makes for some pretty solid aerial footage of Kismet, where you're kind of running up this just cool terrain, and you get some right exposed areas up there, and you also get a really kind of fast but technical descent on there, which is, I mean, definitely some kind of raw mountain terrain.
Yeah. Yes, it is really technical. And yeah, the ledges are right there. So I actually had, my parents came up, and one of my friends from college came up, and they were watching, and they were able to see me, but there's a lot of it's not the most spectator friendly course because you're in the middle of the woods. But they got to check out the climbers that were on the ledges there, because Whitehorse and Cathedral are super popular spot for rock climbing. So yeah, you're right there on the edge, which freaks my mom out a little bit.
Do you just kind of blow through that? Or, I guess you're used to it because you live up there, but I imagine for some, that's got to be somewhat intimidating or nerve wracking.
Yeah. The most technical part is really North Moat stuff, I'd say. And going uphill, the technical bit just slows you down because you're climbing over rocks more, but you're going slower going uphill. But going down North Moat can be really slick. This year they told us that it was slick, but I thought it was a little better than last year. And North Moat tends to be wet anyways, but I thought it was pretty good for, how it can be. But that's the technical part. And definitely, I think it helps to live up here. And I was able to make some gains on that part. It's hard to tell because everybody's so spread out. But yeah, I think living up here and training in the whites is helpful for that.
And the season, I mean, you kept it fairly tight. I'm sure you did some outer events that just weren't necessarily on my radar, but it seemed like the focal points were Whiteface and then Loon and then Kismet. Is that kind
of? Yeah, I will be going to Thailand. I don't know. Yeah, so that's on my radar. So Kismet was like a big one, and then now I'm kind of I'll have races that I'll be doing, but Thailand's the next like thing in sight.
And so was that from Worlds? Was that coming out of Loon?
Coming out of Whiteface.
It was Whiteface. Yes, I don't even remember who.
Because just because there was a spot declined.
Oh yeah. Well, congrats. That's awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah, for sure.
I think I'm not allowed to say it. I don't know.
No, well, it's said now. So
yeah.
That's really exciting. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Yeah. So that's next month. When is that again?
So that's November 6th.
It's November 6th.
Yeah. So it still feels like a ways away. So I'm just trying to stay healthy and keep running.
Yeah. I mean, your fitness is clearly pretty good right now, but right now you got to stay healthy and keep that fitness for another 6 weeks beyond maybe when you thought you needed to.
Yeah. I do usually like the weekend before is usually my last race of the year So, and I don't know, I love running in the fall. It's just so much easier. You can breathe. I mean, Thailand, I won't be able to breathe, but in New England, running in the fall is just so nice.
And Thailand's going to be relatively mild for you, right? I mean, I guess at that point, you really you want to represent the U.S., you want to run well, but ultimately it's the experience. But it's a 7-mile course with like, it's like under 2,000 feet of gain or something like that. What's the elevation? Do you remember? Maybe you haven't looked at it yet.
It's a good question. I did look at it briefly. It's similar to, some of the, like Whiteface and Cranmore and Waterville Valley, I think.
I thought it was too. And then somebody, if there's any listeners that are tuning in live, if you were to Google the elevation metrics for the World Mountain Running Championships in Thailand, I'd be curious there. I was trying to create Whiteface to be a mirror of what Thailand would be. But I also had in my head that it was going to be like 4,500 feet of gain or something like that. But I think when it actually panned out,
I don't think it is that much.
No.
Yeah.
So at least the distance matches, but that'll be an exciting trip. And so, maybe I wouldn't even ask that. I was going to ask necessarily like stoked about the teammates you're going with, but if it's not public on who just declined, then I guess I won't even ask that question. But hopefully that'll be psyched. Have you been to Thailand before?
No, I'm not a big traveler. But no, it'll be exciting. It's literally the opposite side of the world.
Yeah. That's going to be exciting to get the Team USA kit, crack it open.
Yeah.
I'm excited for you. That's awesome. Well, right on. Well, not to keep you up too much here beyond your bedtime. Yeah, but it was awesome to connect with you several times this year so far, and now maybe I get to connect with you again going into post Thailand. So, congrats.
Thanks.
Yeah, and nice work at Kismet as well, lowering your course record. That's a pretty solid performance.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, totally. All right. Well, I will catch you next round.
Sounds good.
All right. Congrats, Corey.
All right. Thank you.
All right. See ya.
See ya.
All right. So I'm going to head on to the Mogollon Monster here. Matt, thanks for being live on that back end as well. If you didn't catch it earlier, HollyAnn's bus is going to arrive at the hotel around 9:25. So we will bring you into the last segment and we'll see if Alex logs on as well. So I am going to bring on Jamal. Thanks. Good to see you again, buddy. And Phil, brother.
What's up, people?
And Yassine as well. Did you guys connect out there? Phil, do you know Yassine or Jamal?
I don't know Jamal. I met Yassine, I think, one time at the Trail Festival in Brooklyn, the movie thing. I was with Friedman. I did
Oh,
see you
right
out
on.
there, and I meant to say hello, but it was kind of right at the start, and I was like just figuring everything was kind of ready, and I was kind of in my own head at that point, figuring what stupidity I got myself involved with.
I know. I was pretty nervous at the start myself.
Yeah.
You had Bigfoot walking around in a costume, and you're about ready to tackle a really tough 100-miler. But hey, good to see you, and congratulations on your run. Thanks.
It was a way tougher course than I expected.
Yeah,
I mean, I expected it to be way more runnable than that.
Yeah, I would agree, and just a lot of things. Like the altitude for me, I'm a sea level person, so just the whole race being between 5,000 and 8,000 feet really got me. But thankfully, I had my brother there to carry me through the last 57 miles, so that was pretty cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was affected by the altitude. I mean, that first climb got me. I mean, I got to like 15 miles. I was overheated. I was affected by the altitude. I was ready to drop at 15. Normally, I sort of saved that until like at least 40 until I started dropping. I was at 15, and I was like, I'm overheated here. I'm dehydrated. The altitude's kicking my ass. I'm done. This is not my day.
I hear you.
Yet here you are, and so let's. Jamal, maybe you know the metrics. Oh, and let's start with you because you were pace. Well, I shouldn't start with you. You guys banter between yourselves as much as you want here. I think that's even more fun than me just getting into it too. But Jamal, for a takeaway for you, one, you're like, damn, like I should have just signed up and run 100 miles, and then not so much.
I wasn't thinking that. No.
Yeah.
I was pretty happy with exactly how it went. Really. And jumping in and being able to help like that. Like these guys are saying, it was a pretty rugged course out there. And these guys haven't touched on it yet, but it poured in the middle of the day.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I mean, the weather was wild. It was all over the place, right? I mean, the first storm actually saved me, I think. The first storm saved my race because it cooled me down a lot.
Me too.
Like the second aid station, I went in there. I really iced myself down. Put the ice bandana on, dunked my head like 3 times, drank loads of water, but then up that climb out of there, past the Horton Springs and where it kind of got steep, that was when I first got really rained on. And I think that point actually saved my race. So I started to come around and feel decent when I got cooled down.
So that steep climb for me, I was in like the top 5 at that point. I was in complete sun, and that was about mile 25. Yeah. And that's when I started going down really hard. And I had got up to Jamel at mile 26, and I was like, dude, I'm in bad shape right now. Like I went from like first place to 8th place in that section. And then he took care of me and basically put me in the rental car and turned the air conditioning on full blast and cooled me down, gave me some coconut water. And then I headed out, and then it started raining. Yeah. And I was just like, oh, thank you. And it was perfect. Good. And I totally came back to life.
Yeah. And then about 2 hours later, I think I was hit by rain again. And I'd gone from like, in the space of 2 hours, from heat stroke to hypothermia. It was like, I was freezing. That like second big rainstorm that came in, and the thunder and lightning that was building that thing up was absolutely, I mean, that was off the charts, that stuff. It was like nuts. The excitement,
Nobody was expecting it. Nobody predicted thunderstorms. Yeah.
No, it wasn't. When you think of Arizona in September, that's not what you think of. I was getting hailed on. I mean, it got so bad to the point I don't have any hair to protect me, so I was just getting
taking a beat down. Yeah,
it was taking a beating. I had to like hide under a pine tree for like 5 minutes.
So for those who not already familiar with the event, somebody just give it like the top line, location, distance, elevation metrics, kind of what you predicted going in versus some of the things you've talked about so far, and what and why. Like Phil, you made the trip out. Why this one? You've done a number of high destination events. Why this one? So kind of some of the metrics and why Mogollon?
Well, I mean, I'll jump in a bit, and then maybe you jump in. I mean, it's 101 miles. It's Pine, Arizona. It's about an hour and 45 minutes, kind of northeast, maybe more to the north of Phoenix. Pine is the town, and it's on a thing called the Mogollon Rim, which is like a big escarpment face formed by some kind of erosion. I'm not exactly sure what kind of formed it out there, but it's actually incredibly green with lots of ponderosa pine, way more water running down the face of that thing than I thought. It's a really spectacular landscape, and I did not expect that. You know, I kind of thought it was going to be kind of these dried out trails, nice and smooth through the pine trees. Little did I realize it was like a conveyor belt of moving jagged rocks. They were throwing all kinds of weather at us. There was not much oxygen to go around. And basically my ass got kicked all the way around the course. So, anyway, I'll let Jimmy, I'll let Yassine jump in.
So essentially by the numbers, it's like Phil said, it's about 101, 102 miles. It's a point to point, which was really attractive to me. I love point to points, and it goes up and down this Mogollon Rim 6 times, totaling about 18,000 feet of climbing. So it's not, I mean, it's got a lot of climbing, but it's like I've done, much tougher events that have a lot more elevation gain. But, this one with the combination of the altitude, the crazy weather, the ruggedness and technicality of the course, it really, served us up a great challenge to test our mettle. And I had run out there. I did a big camper van trip in 2020, and I kind of coincidentally camped on the course. I didn't even know it at the time. And I went down there and, parked our camper van and ended up camping at the Geronimo aid station, which I didn't know at the time. Cool. Yeah, mile 72. Yeah. And so I went for a run out there, and I was just like, wow, this area is very unique for Arizona. It is this geological formation, the way that this plateau just kind of shot up out of the earth, and it's the biggest ponderosa pine forest in the nation.
Oh, wow.
Which was pretty cool. Yeah. And so, when I uploaded my Strava, it said, oh, you ran the last climb of the Mogollon Rim or the Mogollon Monster 100. And that kind of planted the seed for me. And then I pitched the idea to Jamel, and Jamel's been coming off of a great year of ultra running. And like you, Ian, I was also like, dude, why don't you just run it with me, man? Let's, let's just stay together the whole time and be your first 100, and we'll have this shared experience. But, obviously he just got 3rd place at his 100K at Twisted Branch. And so he didn't kind of want the pressure of doing this 100, which we talked about during the race. He was kind of like, man, I'm glad I didn't do this as my first 100 because, 57 was plenty.
Uh-huh. And for you, is this like a qualifier for something else? I mean, is it check those boxes as well?
Yeah, that was another key component for me personally, was that it was a hard rock qualifier. And, I feel like, I've been trying to get into that race for a long time, and you just got to keep getting these qualifiers at these ridiculously tough other races just to get into the lottery, so that was a big component.
And this is a single distance event, right? I mean, is it just the 100, or do they have other concurrent distances running?
They had a marathon as well. I think on Sunday. Yep. And
for the phenomenal events company that they are, what in terms of some of the big draws and higher profile, what was their turnout? How many people ran 100 mile?
I was told it's 160. I don't know exactly, but I was told there were 160 were ready to run on the day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. I would say comparatively, I've done Black Canyon, which is another Aravaipa running race, and that was definitely much more attended and hyped up and whatnot. Jamel and I both were just talking about how we really liked that it was just very a laid back event, almost kind of like a backcountry kind of the town of Pine is so small. I mean, I loved the charm of it. It's just like we went to these just greasy diners, and you got these laid back country folks, and the Arizona Trail comes through there. So this little town essentially is there predominantly for these through hikers that come through. And I mean, you blink your eye and you're through the town. Literally, we run out of the trail to the middle of town, and it's just, that's the finish. And you run a few hundred more feet and you're out of the town.
Nice. And otherwise, you're just kind of up on this ridge in this forest. It's not like you're dropping into any other little town, Arizona towns. You're pretty much just out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
exactly. Yep. It's another town called Payson that's like 15 miles away, and that's a little bit of a bigger town. But yeah, you're just up on this rim, going up and down the rim 6 times, and then you drop into Pine for the finish.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, because
that one's got your name all over it, Ian.
Yeah, that's funny. Flying in and out of Phoenix, you see some. I think I'm often. I think I've flown in and out of Flag once or twice as well. And you look back and you just see these amazing trails that are going up across these ridges and plateaus or whatever. But I do forget that there is such the variety, or the I'm missing the word there.
Diversity.
There you go, of the flora that's out there. And yeah, that pine forest, I mean, that's pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I guess one of the remarkable things, and I'm seeing it play out, like my brother and his family live in Seattle. That's where they've been for decades at this point. And I think Seattle came up as like the worst air quality of any city in the world, like last week from the fires. And my college roommate lives in far northeastern Oregon in Enterprise Joseph, and they're just in the just epicenter of 2 pretty large convergence fires. And they've got all the hotshot crews and helicopters or whatever, all just like in drawing water from their town or whatever. How about in Arizona? I mean, did it feel kind of green, or is it pretty much everything just waiting to torch out there?
No, like Phil said, where we were, it was awesome. I mean, it was such a different, it was like higher altitude. It was forested. They had gotten rain leading up to the race, so everything was kind of green already and lush. And Jamel can speak to this, but Jamel wasn't going to jump with me until mile 60. But based on the crazy weather and based on everybody was kind of slower than expected, he was ready to go at mile 45. And as soon as we started running, he was just like, man, this is so freaking beautiful, because he had never been out that way before either. So, and it was just this beautiful single track cutting through the forest that you don't really envision when you think of Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
Like creeks, water gushing in the valley there was not something I expected.
I mean, you could take a water bottle with maybe like a filter water bottle and like fill up quite a few times if you wanted to.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
Huh?
Yeah.
So does it leave you then all feeling when Jamel? Does it leave you for your first 100, like I'm going to put this like on my list, want to go back? Or for Yassine and Phil, because you guys have been around quite a bit as well, is this like a one and done type thing, or it's like, wow, this course really was remarkable?
I would say that it was pretty special, and I think some of that was a combination of the weather we got, because we had rain, we had thunder, we had lightning, we had hail. We also had a full moon that night, and the clouds broke. I mean, I was going up one climb, and I looked back across the kind of valley below the rim. It was the full moon, a few clouds, and the coyotes were howling. I was like, this is just as good as it gets in this sport. Like, it's just having, the great feeling about, being out in the mountains at night. I love personally, nighttime in any ultra. Like to me, it's my favorite time to be out on the trails at night with a headlamp. I would highly recommend it, and I would seriously consider going back. I mean, I think I want to look at maybe I'm Tough next year. But it's definitely probably the best like mountain 100 I've done.
Wow,
that's awesome.
I'm never doing that again. But I've said that about every other 100 miler I've done too, and I've gone back to several of them. So who knows?
It was hard.
I liked it out there. I thought it was special and beautiful, but I don't feel like I have this burning desire to go back and do the actual race. I feel like I I got my share of experience out there. But just going to a new place like that is really cool and fun.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yep.
the West has so much to offer, and so does the East Coast. So it's almost just like, I don't really know, but it's a lot of good options out there. So it's exciting.
And Jamel, I feel like I should know this by now, but I'm not remembering. Have you taken Yassine through a full pacing gig like that so far for 100?
No, all the 100s that he's done. I mean, I paced him at Western States a couple years ago for the last 20 some miles, and that was it. That's it. It's only been a few years that I've been really in the mode, in the fitness with this trail running to be able to be considered to do this with him. So it's cool. I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
I love it. I had such a good time out there. I mean, it was just perfect for me to be in the position to help somebody like that and to help him. All the races that he's done, I feel so happy to be able to do it now and to serve that way, and just to see how many people do that in the trail community. All the giving, all the volunteering, all the pacing and the crewing. It's good to be on that side of it.
Yep.
I got to feel that.
Really enjoyable, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Like you say, giving back and crewing and volunteering, it's really rewarding, actually.
It really is, and I wanted to feel that and do that, and I feel like I did, and it's a different kind of reward, an experience, but just also very cool. So very
and
cool.
Jamel's first time running through the night. So
right, nice.
Yeah, so that was really good. We got him a
Like
nice strong,
with the full moon.
Yeah,
the full moon was amazing.
Yeah,
and just like a few little clouds puffed around.
We turned our headlamp off at one time for just a couple minutes and just stood there and just took it all in. And just was so still and quiet, and it just, as soon as your eyes adjusted, and we were just like, man, we'll never forget this.
Yeah, I was actually kind of worried that I was going to get cold at night, but actually the temperature was quite decent.
Absolutely.
Warmed up a little bit.
Yeah, I think I was in a t-shirt all night.
Yeah, so was I.
Mm-hmm.
I was not sure about taking a long sleeve and a shell, but I was like, no, I'm a really good temperature, really nice temperature. How about going down that power line? How technical is that?
Oh my God.
I mean, the worst of it was like 100 yards long. I fell over twice.
That was one of the worst sections. That was one of the worst sections for sure.
I couldn't believe you had to go down it.
Oh, geez, it was beat you up. Just beat you right. Yeah.
Yeah, it was one after another. One thing after another.
Yeah. A few sections.
Gents, nice work. Yassine, where'd you end up finishing? What were you? I know it jockeyed a little bit. Where'd you end up?
I ended up finishing 6th place.
6th. Yep.
And Phil was not far behind me.
I think I was like an hour behind you, right? I was 9th.
Yeah, nice job.
Yeah, cool. I mean, especially after just wanting to drop in the first 15, I'm like, this race is over for me. And
well, another thing too, I don't know if you noticed this, but I was looking at just kind of analyzing the finishers real quick, and like the first 5 finishers were all from Colorado who like live at the high point of that race.
Right, yeah.
Right, and then I live at 300 feet.
Yeah.
And then the guy behind me was Colorado as well. And then, and then you're not, a couple places back. Yeah, but also another thing I noticed, out of the top 50 finishers, there were only 2 finishers that were in their 20s, which was really interesting. 3 out of the top 10 were masters, and just a lot of people that were a little bit older in the sport, which seems almost kind of like seems how it used to be when I first got into it.
Me rocking in at a young 54.
Yeah, exactly, man. Heck yeah, dude. Old man.
Nice job, man. Awesome.
Grandpa was out there.
There's originals to the youngsters out there, huh?
Yeah, I those in my drop bag.
Well, I think that this sounds like this is a course that also plays to having some experience out there to be able to weather those storms, be able to know what to do in the heat, to be able to know how to get through that cold, wet temps. I mean that's some experience kind of shining right there, and then also just kind of riding that out. I mean, Phil,
at the third aid station, I showed some great experience. I had a shell jacket in there, and it was just about starting to rain again. So actually, it stopped raining, and I was just setting off, and I was like, maybe I should take my shell jacket. And some other runner that had come into aid station said, "Oh, my boyfriend checked the weather. There's no more storms forecast." Left my rain jacket in my bag. I'm like, that showed great experience. I'm like, you believe some random other runner that said their boyfriend had checked the weather forecast in the mountains. So that was
the weather never forecasted any thunderstorms that I could see. We never saw that in any.
I thought there was like 2 to 3 hours worth from like sort of noon until 3, or like noon until like 2:30. And then I think we were good.
Yeah, I was not expecting my hands to get so cold in the middle of the day, so I had to stow my poles so I could run with my hands. Under my shirt on my body just to thaw them out.
Yeah,
which I was not expecting to do in the middle of the day in Arizona.
Nah, that was definitely a bit wild.
Well, gents, I am going to transition part to Yassine's early years as well, with the West Virginia shout out as well in the Highland Sky. Glenn's nuts on there. Thanks for that comment. And the Yassine connection. And that was also one of my earlier, I think, plugs, knowing Yassine was going to do that, and had a really, I think, cool experience with Highland Sky.
Yeah, thank you for that message. Nice to hear from you. I appreciate that.
Right on. What do you guys got coming up? Anything left in 2022?
I'm pretty much laying low. I was planning on maybe going down to do the Quad Dipsy the Saturday after Thanksgiving, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna do that now. I was also registered for Hurt 100 in January, but I might be pulling out of that as well. I just don't think it's gonna work for like my family schedule and other obligations I have. So. Not sure. I think I'm just going to be kind of chilling the rest of this year. I've raced a lot over the last 4 months, and so I've always kind of raced and ran hard and trained hard, but then rested hard. So having that kind of downtime has allowed me to have that kind of longevity as well.
Nice. Phil, speaking of longevity, what you got?
I'm going down to Yeti 100 in a couple of weeks to pace Jay Friedman. I'm going to pace him there.
Oh, nice.
So that'll be fun. I mean, the Yeti races are always just so much fun, just like such a great time. So yeah, we're going to drive down for that. And then I got some stuff going on in Catskills, just doing some peaks, maybe have a little plan for something a bit longer there. Try and get some more Adirondack peaks done, and then start hoping we get snow and get the skate skis out,
Yep.
All the snowshoes. Roll on winter. Love it.
Jamel?
Well, tell Jay I said good luck.
Yeah, I will do, man. Yeah, definitely.
What you got, Jamel? I know this is a big year for you in terms of breakout, and hopefully you're still feeling good. So aside from digging electrical trenches, what else you got on deck?
Hey, you heard about that, huh?
I saw it. She posted, I think, a question to the audience, and I pegged it. Yeah,
I forget about that. Yeah, that was some big training. That was some big time training. Yeah, I'm thinking about. I've been eyeing up Call the Wilds Mountain Fest, and there's the Green Monster. They're both 50Ks. They're down in that Pennsylvania area where Eastern States is, and I've been wanting to go down there for a couple of years now. And I've been eyeing those two up. I think I'm going to do one of those just to kind of round out the year and climb some more steep peaks,
And both I've only heard good things about. So whichever you choose, I think you'll do pretty well by the event.
Yeah, I've heard good things as well. So kind of looking forward to that. Yeah.
Well, maybe I can join you for a run ahead of that. I think there'll be a group run on Sunday out at the Damn Me Down and Dirty course in case you don't have plans Sunday and want to do some miles.
Yeah, I did see that and definitely raised an eyebrow or two. about that. So
right on. Well, if you think it's
maybe I'll see you there. You gonna go out to that?
Yeah, I think so. I'll try to bring a couple friends newer friends who are newer to the community and try to get them plugged in as well. But if it works in your schedule, it'd be cool to share a couple miles as well.
Yeah, I've never done that one either, so I've always wanted to do it. So maybe this will be here. Yeah,
maybe it'll be there. You should admit, last year I was tired of my course record holding there, and so last year I created a purse for it. I threw down some real dollars for anybody who could break my record. Nice. Because it had lasted way too long, and it worked. Yeah, people came in from out of the area, some speedsters, and they took that record down, and I was on the hook for some shelling out some cold hard resources.
Money talks, man.
It does. Yeah.
Such a humble guy.
Well, your name came up, Ian, in the middle of the night in those wee hours of the morning, around 3 a.m., 4 a.m., while we were moving at a very snail's pace up a very steep climb.
But at least we were moving, man. At least we were moving. Those people we were passing on that damn trail and that ridge, that was the trail of death. People they might as well have been one with those logs. They were fungus at that point. Oh no, we were moving. We were moving. Maybe it was thanks to the 5-hour energy that you gave me, but we were moving.
I made you drink that. I'm like, dude, you do not have a choice. You have to drink this.
You're the devil. And, I only drink water, and here you are. I don't know what's in that 5-hour energy thing. What is that? That's drugs to me. But
Jamel had to get a cup of coffee right before sunrise too. We were all getting a little sleepy out there, and it worked. We weren't drinking it for the taste. We were drinking it for the effect.
Bull.
Oh yeah, we downed a Red Bull too. Yeah,
that was a game changer.
Well, hopefully it worked the same way. Then hopefully you ended up dropping your pacer just like I dropped you. Yeah,
yes.
Hopefully that worked. Yeah.
Yes. Well, it worked because once that sun came up, we started running. Not quite as fast as you, but we started running.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well, guys, it was great to connect for a little bit.
For sure.
All of you always look forward to the next round. So
totally, yeah. Great to see everybody.
Awesome, guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on.
All
right, guys.
Again, Yassine, nice one, Jamal.
You too, Phil.
Good job to you guys. Thanks, Ian.
Yeah, that was such a fun event.
All right.
Thanks, Ian.
See you guys.
Love what you're doing. See you.
Have a good evening, guys. See you.
All right. So we are going to transition to West Virginia. Matt, thanks for your patience on the back end. HollyAnn, I am glad that you arrived. And Alex, when you are available, I will pull you back in there as well. I just see the empty throne at the moment. So let's weave you in here. So the Hurricane 100, first year event. Actually, I got the RD himself, the creator here. I mean, I could provide some sort of segue here, but let's let you do that. It's great to have you on. Tell us a bit about what the Hurricane 100 is all about, what you created, what you had hoped for, and let's start there, I guess.
Yeah, man. Well, thanks for having us on. I appreciate it. It's first of all, it's hurricane. Hurricane is the storm. Hurricane is the town, and so we make a big deal out of this. And so when I'm on the phone and I introduce it, say hurricane, like on customer service, but it's hurricane. So what we have here is that we have the Hurricane 100K. It's a solo run and relay. And it was the first year for it, just like you said. This is the first 100K in West Virginia, the first with a prize purse that we know of, definitely the first in a long time. And what we were trying to do is we have built over the past 4 years some handcrafted and hand-built trails here in our town. And man, we were just anxious to showcase these trails and bring other people in. Not only our local runners, that's what the relay is primarily for. We still had a lot of locals come out and do this 100K, but really trying to bring people in from other areas. It just so happens that we have some studs, elite runners like Alex and HollyAnn and Caleb and Dan Green that came out to run. It was a fantastic run, but really part of the objective was to make this a race that not only runners want to come back to, but their families want to come back to. So you talk about your Virgil's Crest as a loop course, man. I love loop courses. That's the way this one is. It's really set up for it with this beautiful bowl area that we have. So we had live bluegrass music. We had pizza flowing all day, not just for runners, but for families. We had ice cream going. I mean, you name it, and it was there. We had Splash Park. I mean, it was kind of a day that was a little overcast and not great for that. But and really ended up being a day that was wonderful. We had finishers in 8:38, that when Alex won the race, and then we had some that were 20 hours and 32 minutes, and we were there to see them all. And Alex and I, and actually HollyAnn and I, we've talked over the past couple of nights, and it's really pretty amazing, as you know, watching these finishes, man. Those ones up front, watching them run so hard and so fast over such a tough course, it's inspiring. But those ones that it's all they can do to do a 10-mile loop in 5.5 hours at the end, and we're still there cheering them on in the pouring rain. So much fun. So that's what's going on, and we really just hope to grow this thing and make the race and the town, the Hurricane, synonymous together.
So why not just drop the E off the end so that it just doesn't confuse the rest of us? Like, can't we just call a truce there and just like, come on, like clearly you're just trying to call us stupid by like, not changing the spelling, but changing the way you pronounce it. Come on.
Dude, I sent you that video and even told you today how to pronounce it, and you didn't get it right. So
the amount of things I'm juggling here. You think I'm going to watch that? No, I appreciate you sending that information. And I think this has been the night of butchering things. I don't know how many times they've told me how to pronounce that Mogollon Monster or whatever. I'm still going to butcher that.
Yeah, you're just taking out. You're putting the emphasis on the wrong syllable in some of those things. So just get that part right.
It's terrible. Like I know that some of the founders of, I still can't say it. Aravapai Running, like it's one of the larger like race companies in the country. Even friends for a while, or acquaintances. I hear it all the time. I've been out there like I'm just ignorant, but. My head, I'm like, come on, like, why would you create an event company where people you can't pronounce? Like, nobody's how to pronounce it. But that's just me. Hurricane. Right. I'll try to get Hurricane.
Got it.
So it's pretty awesome. All those things that you created. One, that you created the trails at all, the community around it. Two, that you were able to get the purse to really bring it in, and to try to see if you can further create another kind of showcase event for West Virginia. I think years ago, I was right when I think COVID was setting in, maybe I was scheduled to run, I think, the trilogy, which I was really looking forward to. Highland Sky's always been on my radar. But I know that they get draws. It seems like a number of people from Virginia, a number of people from Kentucky, and they pull some in, but I don't know how much the larger kind of awareness is outside of that kind of couple state pocket or whatever. And West Virginia, in my head, for the amount of forest, for the amount of mountains, the amount of trails that I perceive to be there, just seems like you all could be heavier in that trail scene than maybe you are. So to add another one to the mix, and let alone try to create one, or do create one that has that draw, I don't know, it sounds pretty awesome.
We're trying to get that prize purse even bigger for next year too. I mean, we've got the support. When you say you, man, there are, somebody give you some stats in building these trails. Over 400 individuals have contributed to this. We've got 14,000 hours in it, and I'm just part of a race committee that is absolutely stellar. I mean, the community of volunteers, and we'll let Alex and HollyAnn tell you about the atmosphere there. I mean, it was just absolutely unbelievable. You ask them to do something and they do it. I mean, the support that was out there. And I'm just sitting back and watching it in awe. But you know how it is, man. It's more than not just one person. I mean, you can set a vision, you can set it on the way, but you have got to have those willing and able people, like-minded, like-hearted, to make it happen. And our town is full of it, and it's so cool. I hope it becomes something. But Highland Sky, my all-time favorite race, trilogy, done it 4 times. The other, New River Gorge, River, and they've got a 100K going on over there now too. Beautiful area. A lot of good new stuff happening in West Virginia.
For sure. It's growing, right? Now you have it seems like Virginia, I don't know all the names quite well enough, but in my recollection, Virginia always had the early, at least when I was first getting into the trail ultra world 25 years ago or so at this point, you had those big Virginia names. I mean, it was a younger scene there. But they were more coming out of that Virginia pocket. In terms of growth in the young guns now, not that there aren't fast people like all over, but like as an example, in terms of Caleb and HollyAnn, what you have been doing in terms of cranking out some fast performances, Alex, I think the first time we're connecting, Caleb gave me the heads up that it was going to be a bit of a throwdown. It could go any way this past weekend, and to have a young gun like you come in, you're mid-20s. How old are you?
I'm actually 24, turning 25 next month, baby.
Yeah. So to have you that fast and just coming in and this was your first 100K, right? Or first
100K. So I've done a couple of 50Ks. My longest run, I think, previously was during a race. It was actually Yamacraw. I got lost. I think I ran an extra 3 or 4 miles, so it was like 35 miles. So this is by far the furthest I've ever ran. Yeah.
So this was a jump, and Caleb told me a little bit about how it, or really briefly, I think, how it shook out. And then HollyAnn, you were, at this point, you're good enough that I suppose in bigger races, when you've traveled to, for instance, to some of the bigger ones you traveled to, like this past year, you're going to get some fast females. Maybe you're not going to take the win, but by and large, you're competing against males for the most part. And so when you have somebody like Alex, somebody like Caleb or whatever, you're fast. And so you do have people there to run against. But I think the prediction was that you'd kind of be out there and you'd be tough to touch. And you just ran a fast time, right? I think what did Caleb posted? It was like the 6th fastest 100K like in the country this year or something to that effect.
Yeah. So 100Ks across the board, it is 16th. When you remove the road 100Ks, I think it's 5th.
Mm-hmm. Which is pretty fantastic. And well earned and deserved. You've been laying down some good efforts, and your fitness is pretty incredible, and still young. And to see where you'll go with more experience will be pretty cool to see as you're building. What was your? Matt, did you have predictions how this race was going for the purse? Knowing that is, hopefully a draw and makes a difference to people that are out there trying to, devoting a whole lot of time to the sport. Is that purse coming from, did you have any certain sponsors thanking for that purse, or was it a municipal funding for tourism, or where's that coming from?
Yeah, the city of Hurricane put it up, and they get money from the Convention and Visitors Bureau, but we also had Little Caesars was a great sponsor, and so they kept us fed all day long. But the city of Hurricane put up that prize purse, and so Scott Edwards is our mayor, and so we thanked him, and he was out there. He was out there a lot during the day, and so we were sitting there when he was most excited. I bend his ear and say, Scott was really going to make this thing roll, is doubling this purse for next year. I don't know if we'll do it, but we're going to make a run at it and see. And so it really, but the support came. I don't get into the money, but we had a great. My co-chair Ashley Ellison did all the sponsor work. We raised over $20,000 in sponsorship for this thing to help put it on, to make sure really again we roll out the red carpet for people too. And so we wanted to spare no expense. We have these great sweatshirt jackets. HollyAnn wore hers on the video. They're super comfy when they do. So just really trying to make this a premium event that people are going to want to come to, but not cutting any corners on it.
And I sure hope they do. And seeing the return, we did an economic study for Cayuga Trails in one of the earlier years. And I don't know, I think I don't even remember. Maybe we had like 300 entrants or something like that. And where it was one of the U.S. Championship 50-mile years, and we had a pretty decent prize purse as well. We're getting a bit bigger draw from out of the area. That matrix has changed a little bit over the years, but it's pretty significant. I don't remember what it was, but it was maybe like in the context of that event weekend, I think we brought like $350,000 like into the Ithaca area, like community in terms of conversion. I'm joining another event for next year, coming on as a co-RD, and potentially will take on the event under the Red Newt fold. Pretty big event in terms of numbers, but I think their impact is something like $500,000 like into the tourism community. And so it's great and you're just starting, and hopefully this grade grows really well. But it's awesome once you see it. So for your mayor, as an example, I think once they're able to put the pieces together, that it really does come back in terms of the resources into the town. It really is a win-win. So hopefully that happens. And to Beth's comment here, is one of the most organized races I've ever attended. Great job to everyone on the committee. Speaks a lot too, right? That's the feedback that you hope. And if the town is putting resources into you and investing in you, you can only hope that you can provide that experience and that works.
Can I one thing, we in West Virginia especially, we talk a lot about tourism, and I have this conversation a lot with people, and I did with Brandon Dorner, who started all of this, and said, but tourism is great. I mean, it's great to bring them in for a weekend or 2 or 3 or 4 if they want to come and train. What we're really looking for in West Virginia is, man, we want people to come here and live, and we want them to move here and stay, because West Virginia. I grew up in West Virginia. I went to school in Kentucky, and I lived in New York for 6 years and came back to West Virginia. Never thought I would. And now you could not drag me away. I mean, there are good people doing good things, and we get a bad rap for a lot of things, but there are pockets that are absolutely doing good stuff. And we want this to be a place where people want to set up roots and live more than anything else. And this is quality of life stuff that we're doing. And it just really helps raise awareness for that. So, and then we get these super fast, talented runners in here too, that I would tell people all weekend. I said, they'd ask how long. They just blew their mind. If they've ever heard of these races, you know what it's like. It blows their mind that people are running 62 miles. And I said, but we have definitely at least 4 runners out here that will compete anywhere in the country. And they're right here in the backyard. You got to come watch them run. And it was so much fun. So about predictions, HollyAnn, I mean, unless something happened, we knew she was going to win. The question was she'd be top 3 overall, and she was. If one of the guys blows up, HollyAnn was right there to take in, and she did. And then between Alex and Dan and Caleb, I said, look, any one of them, and anytime I said we had a best of 7 series or best of 12 or whatever it is, or best of 15, they traded out. I honestly believe that any of them could win any day. But Caleb had to be the favorite, most experienced, most win. No offense to Alex, but Alex was. I've also heard that he's the best young, fast talent, probably the fastest of them all. And that proved out on the day. So much fun to watch him race. Let them tell you about it, though.
Yeah. And so how did it shake out? Get into that let's go. Let's start with you, HollyAnn. I mean, you've had the quite a number of high profile events so far this year, focusing on even more for next year. How'd you feel out there? How did the race go versus how you thought it would go? Any highs, lows? How you doing?
Yeah, so I've had like a handful of really great events from the summer going into early fall. So I was pretty excited about this 100K and, aiming for a new PR. I didn't have the best day at Gorge Waterfalls in April, so I was kind of hoping that this past Saturday would be my 100K day. And I started out and everything just kind of felt a little heavier than I was hoping for in the first 10 miles. And my body and legs just kind of stuck there the whole time. And so I think like Caleb had asked me, which did you consider a harder race, Gorge Waterfalls or Hurricane? And I feel like that's almost impossible to compare because Gorge Waterfalls had some tougher aspects, as in like the ascents and descents were a lot. Like there was a 1,500 climb right there in the middle of Gorge Waterfalls, combined with the rocks were just insane. But with Hurricane, you have the loop aspect, so you're in a mental battle the whole time. And I don't do great with heat and humidity, and I was drenched by the first lap. I went through over 5,000 mils of water. I couldn't keep it in. So they were both tough in their own way. But so I guess that's mostly how my day played out. Is I felt my legs get heavy, and it was just kind of a grind fest. Like just keep pushing this, keep moving, and just see what we can do. And talked to Matt a little bit about this in our interview, but like I just kind of had a goal where I knew those trails and I knew where the climbs would be. So I just kind of had a goal, no matter how much of a shuffle it was, just to keep moving the whole time and not power hack those hills. And I was able to do that. So I was pretty excited about that.
Cool. And were you, did you find yourself kind of alone, or were you, I mean, I shouldn't imagine, but I would guess that the 3 of them were a bit ahead of you. So were you kind of in no woman's land there, or?
Yeah. So I was with Alex and Dan and Caleb through the first lap. Probably shouldn't have been as close as I was, honestly, but it didn't feel like we were going as speedy as we were. And then as soon as we left that first loop aid station, never really saw him again.
Yep.
So then like the little highlights for the day were just kind of seeing some of the other competitors just out on the loop.
And how about for you, Alex? So you let Caleb take some of the wind there for a bit, and then you just kind of sat there and made him nervous, and then just kind of chewed him up. How'd it go down?
No, I mean, we ran together most of the time. But first, back to HollyAnn. I mean, put her in any race, man or woman, it doesn't matter. She's going to be one of the best runners out there. It doesn't matter pretty much any race, pretty much. And I mean, that first loop, we were all together, and it was awesome because, I mean, we've been running together for the past 3 years or something. I don't know, and it's always awesome to be running with friends like that, especially in a race. So, and then, I mean, I think after that first loop, Caleb, Dan, and I, we started going at it a little bit. So, and then it just got into that kind of race mode and stuff. And with that whole loop situation, everything, the whole concept is such a cool thing. So, being able to like see each other almost the whole time was just, I mean, made it way more competitive. So that was, I think, one of the coolest things about it. So.
And do you guys run together otherwise, the three of you as guys?
Dan and I live together. We work together. Caleb is our college coach. So, I mean, we're always together a lot of the time. So it's good. I mean, we get to train, we get to race, which, I mean, it sucks and it's not because like we get to do these cool races together, but then we have to go against each other. So it's fun, but it's sad in a way because, yeah, one day we're going to have to try to go against each other and beat each other. And I think that's what gets good times out of us because we want to beat each other, but we're also at the end of that race, we're always still friends and having a good time. So,
yep. And this was, what else? What else you guys got? Not to necessarily use it as like the exit, but this being, I mean, it was fast. It was a big competitive race. It was a bit of a purse like on the line. Was this your first kind of higher profile event in that regard, Alex, or have you had some in the past with your shorter stuff?
I would say so. Yamacraw in Kentucky, put on by Brian Gages. He's a great race director too. He does prize money there. Stearns, Kentucky is where that is. And it's in the Daniel Boone National Forest. Beautiful race. That's always fun, and I've been there the past 2 years. Dan Green and I, he actually raced this past weekend with me too, and we went and did that this past year. So I would say that, and then this, I mean, by far being close to home, having that kind of prize purse is always fun. So.
And did you guys, you and Dan, both run for Marshall as well? Was that the?
Yep. Yeah. Dan was 1 year ahead of me, and then I mean, we've been living together ever since like 2016. So.
And then I've talked to Holly a little bit about her background, but for you and Dan, I mean, what's your wheel set? What was your focus in track? What was your event?
Track was probably more like 5K. I was good 5K. Dan could kill any distance pretty much. He was definitely more of a long guy though. 10K is awesome. We'd have regionals at Penn State on that golf course in State College. It was just horrible every year, just muddy, gross. And Dan would go out and just freaking kill it pretty much. So. But, yeah, definitely more longer stuff. And I think that's when we kind of realized once we got post-college, we started running trails with our boss, Robert. He's a savage of a man, too. So we wanted to kind of run with him, and he put us on the trails. And that's kind of where it all started. We started to run longer on the trails was after post-college.
And what's your wheelhouse in 5K, or even if it wasn't your focus, what's your mile PR?
Fastest 5K was 14:55, I think, and then mile like 4:20, 4:19.
Yeah, and similar for Dan, kind of in that range.
Yep, he was sub 15 mile. He says he's not fast in a mile or 800, but
yeah,
he
just
likes.
That's
fine. He likes lying about it, acting like he's a slow guy, but he's a very fast guy.
Well, right. I mean, that's the. I think I was probably somewhere in there. I think maybe like 4:16 mile speed or something like that. But I would never. I was far from feeling like I was a miler, and I wasn't. But to put it in perspective, but once you start playing in these, right, and the kind of the better you get, the more aware you are of you're really not that good in that regard. I mean, there's like worlds of talent that's so much faster than you are, and you can't get. I can't touch that. Like I'm not going to break 4:10 in a mile, even at my best. Like that's a whole nother world. or whatever. And you can go up the distances like that. Like, I'm not going to get to 14:30. Like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
But now that you're getting to be an old man here in 24 and 25, and now that you're running 100K distance here, you're still young enough where that wheelhouse is still there. And now that you're taking it longer, that's kind of a different equation there, when you can hang in there and apply it and run a hard back half like you did and take out old men like Caleb there, basically.
Yeah, Matt made a good point. He's like, there's a lot, I think, like 7 years of improvement or something, wherever you kind of start this stuff, like where you can actually get faster and get better. And I'm saying, obviously still young, so I can definitely do a lot with that. And then especially running against Caleb, who's so much experience right now. I mean, I'm learning a lot from him, learning a lot from Dan, learning a lot from a lot of people, pretty much. But I mean, that race, that was a big kind of step up for me, going from, I mean, only running 35 miles to 60 miles. Didn't know how my body was going to feel. And I mean, having the whole crew, that atmosphere and everything, it made it a lot easier for sure. So yeah, it was awesome.
And so for the gauge, let's talk about a metric on who really depleted themselves and who was still kind of sandbagging, had more in the tank. Between Alex and HollyAnn, were you both able in the day or two afterward to get up on and off the toilet without having to use the counter?
HollyAnn, you go.
Well, so I didn't mention that I had ran a Charleston distance run a week prior, a 15-miler, and I ran a 1:30, which is the fastest course time since 2009. And immediately after that race, my hamstrings were screaming. And so like I just spent the week leading up to the 100K kind of babying them and hoping that they would be ready to roll by 100K. And so that's definitely like what I started feeling pretty early, was my hamstrings burning again in the 100K. So I knew that they would hurt after the race was all over with. But my calves and ankles are what speed up the most. I'm slowly but surely getting back into running, but I've been able to cycle just fine.
What was the elevation gain cumulative for the 100K?
It's a little over 9,000 feet.
A little over 9,000. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. So qualifying that elevation gain and loss, and you didn't answer the question though, HollyAnn.
Well, if I got off the toilet, well, maybe I didn't want to disclose that. No, I'm just.
I know. But I'm sorry. This isn't a political forum here. I asked you a very pointed question on whether you needed the counter to get on and off the toilet.
No, I was able to do that just fine.
Alex,
I'll answer next. I could poop in any situation.
I didn't. Now you're taking it a whole different level. I didn't even ask about pooping. Sometimes afterward, I just kind of need to sit for a while.
No, counter or nothing. I'm good. Good.
Well
Second
done.
loop, I was golden after that. Nature break. It was great.
Huh.
Listen, he was talking about testicles earlier in the show. I've been on here the whole time, and so there's nothing that's off limits here.
No hold back, baby. No hold back.
Well, when it's applicable. I mean, Cole had some really, really shaved testicles in that race. It was really unfortunate. And both of you finished your 100K without. I mean, HollyAnn, how you finished that without getting shaved testicles, I don't know, because I mean, on that hot of a day, like I would just think everybody would.
I had plenty of shaved things, not testicles.
Yeah.
You know, we actually went out and we had Vaseline there at the aid stations, but I always remind people, Ian, I said, that is not for your lips. So whatever you do not apply that to your lips. Okay.
You guys are disgusting.
Or maybe that just weeds out the people who just don't know yet. I mean,
I'm just trying to help.
You just let them go, and then just.
We had all kinds of people doing the first ultra. They need to know this information.
Yeah, dude, Ian, with that mustache, you've got to be safe. I know.
Yeah. This is I think what it looks like this is going to help me with is a Halloween costume. I think for a little dodgeball throwback there.
There we go.
Yeah. I was going to work the mullet next. Maybe I'll go the mullet and then I'll come down to Hurricane, because I think I feel like
Hurricane.
Hurricanes. Yeah, I'm growing. I'm improving. And it did look like which is the faster, higher quality West Virginia town? Is it Huntington or is it Hurricane?
Oh, well, I mean,
Ooh,
Huntington
we're gonna have
is
to.
a real city. We're a town. So, I mean, it's a difference of probably, I don't know, what's the population of Huntington now?
But he's backpedaling. He's backpedaling hard.
Yeah.
30,000 range, but we're a hometown, man. We were nestled right between Huntington and Charleston, so we're a great place to live, and then you work one of those other two.
I think
Well,
we need.
that's like the toilet question, though. You kind of didn't answer the question.
Well, Hurricane's better. I mean, to live for sure. There's no doubt about that. Is that what you're asking? Yes.
Which was the faster town is what I was
Oh,
asking.
faster.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, no, it's Huntington. It's
We
Huntington.
got the young college kids here in
Oh
Huntington.
yeah.
That's
No.
fair.
They have a bunch of has-beens that never were, just like me here in Hurricane. We do have some fast young people, but and we had some. Our third place man and our second place female were both from Hurricane that make their hometown, and so we've got some good, strong, fast people here. But it was amazing too. Like people were signing up for this race, and I'm like, there's a town of 7,000 people. How do I not know them? I mean, been doing this for years, and just people come out of the woodworks to do it, to give it a shot. And then when you watch it, everybody's going, man, this is inspiring. I'm going to train for next year. It's just you've been at those races too, and how inspiring they are. Because it's any shape or size and age gets this thing done. You just got to be able to move, just like you said earlier with Yassine. All you got to do, but we're moving, and that's all it takes.
Well, Matt, you should bring up the second place female, what she did pretty much during that race.
Man. She's 6 months postpartum, so she's breastfeeding. Her husband brought her baby out there, handed her to her on the going out on that
awesome.
After the third loop, and for the next 10 minutes, she walked up the trail feeding Cooper, and her name's Fern Jones, handed him back to Mark, and they went on the merry way, and she went on to finish second in about 13 and a half hours, which is a very respectable, 100K time. So it was fun to watch, man. Every aspect of it.
I hope they know where that child's bar is going to be set in the world in terms of toughness of parental unit there.
Oh, their parent. I mean, both of them. And Mark, Mark's done. I mean, he's a military guy, done ruck. He just finished Leadville last year. Just does some incredible stuff, and Fern does too. So that Cooper's got good genes. There's no doubt about that. The other story, and I'll tell you this, man. When it came down to, and we between up front, those top two, man, we had a race. So they came in that last loop, Alex and Caleb, just a couple minutes apart. And we got we had a mid-course aid station about 5 miles in, 5 miles ago. It's a 10-mile loop. We got a report that they were 75 seconds apart coming into that and going out of that aid station. So they didn't really know it. They didn't know at that point. And Alex didn't know that Caleb was right behind him. But I'm standing there at the finish, and you could kind of see back. You could see them come out in that last trail. They'd come out of the woods, and like the place would erupt every time. Cowbells are going off. You'd see them and you cheer. And I'm standing there with Alex's family and his mom. And so we're saying she's a nervous wreck about to die for a boy winning in this competition. And they're saying about, how far are they apart? And I said, well, what I really hope is that we're standing here and we see them both coming out of the woods at the same time. And I thought she was going to smack me. I mean, it was like, don't say that. I can't take it. I'm going to have a heart attack. And it was so much fun just being there with families cheering and watching all this too. So, that looped aspect of it is so cool because they just sit there, they take a nap and they eat in between, and then they get out and they cheer on the runner and they crew them and everybody's concentrated with the relays and the fun. It was such a fun day to see that and see Caleb saying that Alex destroyed him those last 5 miles. They went out 75 seconds apart, and Alex ended up putting 5 minutes on Caleb. And Caleb is
wow, yeah, you're not kidding.
Tough.
Then wow, you did destroy him on that last loop. Yeah. Oh, you just
that was Caleb saying that, but that's in the last 5 miles he put on those 5 minutes.
I got scared. So this is what happened pretty much going up to that last aid. So it was probably about mile 54, like 54 and a half pretty much before we got to that mile 55 aid station. And it's a very switchbacky kind of thing going up to that aid station. At one point, I was just kind of like feeling good, chilling. I was power hiking some hills and stuff, try to save the legs for pretty much the last 5 miles. And then I was going up that switchbacky part, and I turned my head just a little bit, and I see this just beautiful head of curly hair just running up. And I was like, oh, my God, that's Caleb. Butt cheeks puckered up. I'm like, I got to go now. Pretty much. So, and after that, pretty much started hammering because, that last 5 miles, all downhill, flat pretty much. So I was like, I think I can just try to hammer it, get out, and hopefully get in with the win. So
Whew. And minute per mile, you did lay it down there in terms of the delta or the gap you put on.
Yeah, I'm an idiot. It hurt.
Yeah.
And he says it was all downhill. It's not. I mean, you're working from the high peak to the low point, but you're rolling, and it's still it's tough. And then there's one about mile 8. You have to climb back out again. So nothing huge. It's just, I always say it's sneaky hard is what it is. We're in the part of West Virginia where we go. I mean, our elevation is about 700 feet. So we don't have the big mountains like you do at Highlands and Trilogy, but it's just it just rolls and it's relentless and it's sneaky hard.
Right on. Well, awesome. I'm glad it went well. I'm glad it threw down for competition. I'm glad the West Virginia scene is continuing to build. Hopefully people move to Hurricane. All it takes is a couple, right?
That's right.
Kind of head there. And what do you guys got, each of you, coming up for the 2022 remainder here?
I will be pacing Dan Green for the Rim to River 100 miler. That will be November 6th, I believe, 5th, somewhere around there. And then I don't really have anything else. There is Roman Run Wild 20 miler. That's actually not this weekend, but the next weekend. Roman Run, they sponsor me, these boys right here. So come out to the race, Barbersville. It's great. So, but that's pretty much it for me.
And is Caleb returning to Rim to River as well?
HollyAnn?
No, he's not coming back. He's got Canal Corridor, October 8th.
All right, so that gets him out of throwing down for round 2 in terms of just start to finish on his back there. All right, that's good. And what you got, HollyAnn? I kind of know the answer, but let's what you got?
Yeah, in my typical randomness of race scheduling, I have Columbus Marathon on October 16th. I have Ironman 70.3 World Championship on October 28th, JFK 50 on November 19th.
And this will be your first JFK, correct?
First JFK.
Well, that'll be exciting for me and those of us who are excited to see what you can do there. And then Matt, what you got?
Well, I'm scheduled for Rim to River, so plan on doing that. And that's West Virginia's first 100 miler. So can't get it. Well, you might be able to get in off the wait list, but I will plug West Virginia Trilogy. I think that you can still get in on that. It's coming up in a month, but not if it's a 3-day stage race. So 50K, 50-mile half marathon. For those that haven't been out there, it's one of the best atmospheres. I mean, Highlands' all-time favorite. Trilogy is right there. Just so much fun. Ian, you have got to get there and do it and hang out for that weekend.
To get there. I would agree with that. As you're saying, I'm like, damn it. What is the it becomes hard on the coaching schedule. But with it being the 3-day, it becomes possible. All right, what do we got here? West Virginia Trilogy on October 7th through the 9th. And day 1 is 50K. I mean, I'm pretty.
You can make it. You could definitely make it.
Probably could make it.
With you being the celebrity that you are, they'll probably let you in. I think registration's closed, but we can get a good word for you. I know those people.
Man, I don't even know if I'd earn that slot, man. I'm in such freaking.
Just go do one of them. Go do one of them. That 50 miler is, it's tough. You earn it on that, and it's got. I mean, it's not going to be. For a lot of people, the cutoff hurts them. It won't bother you, but it's definitely, you're going to earn that one.
I think that's oh gosh, man, I'd have to approach the family. That's right. Is that Columbus Day weekend or whatever they're.
Yeah, it's always it's first full weekend typically.
Now we try to remove that bastard Columbus's name from the equation there. So Indigenous Peoples Day weekend, I think, is the going rate. But I think I'm supposed to. Well, I will see if it's possible, but that is on the list if it's not this year because I've only heard wonderful things about Trilogy.
It is.
Well, right on. Well, awesome, Matt. Congrats on helping to bring that to life. Congrats on a successful first year. Alex and HollyAnn, congrats on the inaugural wins. And be excited to see where you guys continue to go from here.
Thanks, Ian.
For sure.
Thank you, Ian.
Right. Totally. All right. We'll catch you next round. Yeah. And HollyAnn, good luck with the meet tomorrow night.
Thank you.
Ian, you've been on this thing for 3 hours. Good Lord. You've got to go to bed.
There was one, oh man, what was it? When I did my root sessions and I had Jeff Browning on, a longtime friend. I think we were on as well. I think we were on for, I think it's pretty similar. I think we started with Sawyer Magnet in the beginning, and then it transitioned to, and with Jeff on as well. And then it was Jeff and I think we were on over 3 hours as well. And then the kind of the funnier part was after I ended the broadcast, but you're still on the back end. I think Jeff and I and his wife, Jenny, was in the room as well for the interview. And then she comes on the screen, and I think we talked for like another hour or so. So I think it was like over like 4 hours. And man, I don't know, I loved it, but it is kind of like, I'm starting to feel it here as well. I'm still not totally recovered from putting on Virgil Crest this weekend. I'm kind of tired. I'm like, I think I kind of need some ice cream, and my kids are asleep now, and I'm starting to fade. Yeah. In any case, it's been fun though, and I appreciate you guys' the flexibility. HollyAnn, I'm glad the timing worked for you guys getting in. Sorry if we took you away from the team at all.
No, that worked out perfect.
I was just watching Real Housewives. No big deal. Took me away from it.
This is kind of the Real Housewives. Maybe I should just change the name. This is like the Real Trail Wives. Or
honestly, it is. A lot of gossip, a lot of stuff going on. It's pretty good. Yeah, you should change it.
Well, so Alex, listen, man. You know, Ian, his nickname is Fancy Like, so it's Alex Fancy Like Minor. So that's for another day, though. We're going to have to talk about that. So it doesn't surprise me that the Housewives is his favorite show.
That's for a private video show. For that.
That's good. That's good. Fancy Like.
Fancy Like. That's right.
You should get a pair of like the women's bun huggers from Marshall that Caleb is always putting in his Marshall promo videos with these cute women collegiate runners in bun huggers. You should get a pair of those, Alex, and you should put Fancy Like on the back of your keister.
What makes
there,
you
and
think
that
he
should be your
doesn't
racewear.
already?
Funny that you say that. That's pretty much what I train in every day. Ian.
That is great. Yeah,
that's where you got the name. Ian, that's where you got the name.
I have to shave my beard into your mustache, and then I think we'll be good.
That's fantastic. All right. Congrats to, again, all of you, and thanks for tuning up some of your time tonight. For those who are on with us live, thank you so much for being with us live. Those who like, share, contribute as Patreon supporters, that is all outstanding, and we will sign off together here tonight. So thanks all.
Good night.
All right. Good night. Roman, run! Oh.